And we're live. So, I can hear myself. I'd like to welcome everyone again tonight, or today, to our summit. We were just talking earlier before we went on live about our dinner last night that we had on the patio of Tompkins County and some of our other customers out there. So again, we do this on a yearly basis. We've changed up our summit a little bit. We used to travel to all the different cities in New York, which is pretty lengthy to do that. So we decided to have it here at our facility, which was built for this, so that you can come here and use our patio, use our facilities. But the other great thing is we can show you live technology. So during this whole event that we have today, it will be live. We're live streaming, obviously, but all the equipment that you see in here is going to be working today. So if there's equipment that you want to see, the new Spark board, which you're going to see today work, it's available for you guys to play with and look at. We're going to have it available for you to actually come up and touch it this afternoon and work on all the different equipment that we have in there. So with that, I'd like to introduce Quentin, who's actually going to go through some of the housekeeping today. But again, in case you don't know, and I forgot to say this, my name is Paul Griswold, and I'm the President and CEO of Finger Lakes Technologies Group. Quentin is here. We've got a lot of our team here today that you're going to meet, but Quentin's going to run us through a couple of the items that we need for today.
Good morning, everybody. So I appreciate everybody joining in. So a couple things before we get started. Obviously, as everybody here knows, we are live streaming. So I'll go through some of how we're doing the Q&A sessions. There is guest Wi-Fi available, so you can certainly log in and use that. A couple raffle prizes, tell you where the snacks and lunch and everything is going to be, and then also just kind of wrap up with emergency exits in case there's an emergency. So we are streaming live. So I want to make sure that everybody's courteous, at least to those remote participants. So if you're in the boardroom, remain in your seat as much as possible. But you do have to leave. Please leave through this front door here. The side door is going to be blocked by the control station. So we want to save questions until the end of each session. You will be prompted. But also, questions that you have while you're thinking of them, pop them into the Spark room. I'll talk about that in a second. And then, so there's going to be several live videos for those for those participating remotely. For the best experience for those live videos, we ask that you open up the presenter's video stream to actually view those videos and view them full screen. And we'll remind you when those come up. So for those here, you can log into the guest Wi-Fi, choose FLTG guest, and accept the capture portal. If you need help, we have an information booth, and any of the FLTG employees will be happy to help you get on. All the Q&A is going to be done through Cisco Spark. When you emailed when you registered, you will be able to view any of the content that's being presented. We're going to be sharing all the content. You'll be able to see some of the festivities that we had last night as well. So log into Spark. If you need help, again, there'll be an information booth out here to the right, as well as see any of FLTG employees that can certainly help set you up. Okay. So first time setup, you can download the app. You use your corporate email that you signed up with for this event. And in the spaces, you will see FLTG Seminar Space, so you can use that. And then the link on screen for those viewing remotely, if you click that or use that link, that'll take you to a Getting Started in Help page. So please definitely ask questions, create some conversation. We want to have some great conversations, at least within and outside of this meeting space. So please definitely use that. However, for those remote participants, please don't use the chat or Q&A panel in WebEx. Those are not being monitored. So I would appreciate if you did use the Spark application. And then periodically, we will have open mic questions for those within the boardroom here. So we'll open that up, allow anybody to have any live questions, and then we'll go to moderator questions from the Spark space to answer live. Okay. There will be a prize giveaway for anybody that is here today, right? So that's kind of the benefit of coming to Finger Lakes, right? So we're going to have a couple prizes. We're going to raffle those off during the cocktail hour and during lunch. Refreshments are available, so for those within the boardroom, you don't necessarily have to leave. We have plenty of snacks and refreshments up here, and then everywhere else in the cafeteria, there will be refreshments out there. Just kind of quick overview, the restrooms are over and to the right of the boardroom here. Very clearly labeled up on the almost to the ceiling there. There are some additional restrooms on the other side of the building near the tech lab. Those will be kind of important a little bit later on when we get into the SME fair. And then the information booth is between the cafeteria and the training center over here on the right-hand side from where I'm standing. So in the case of emergency, we hope, obviously there is none, but we just want to kind of get that out of the way. There are doors in each of the rooms, so in the boardroom behind you, in the training center to the right of you, and then in the cafeteria on the back wall there. And then we will meet at the gazebo that you saw at the center of the parking lot. Okay, so just kind of a quick map. These are the closest exits to where most of the activities will be today, but obviously if you're in a different part of the building, there are exits all over the building. And these maps are posted around the building, so look for those in the case that there is an emergency. Okay, I'm going to hand it back over to Paul Griswold to go through the agenda.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. So anyways, with the agenda today, you see up here, starting today at 10 o'clock, obviously, as we did. Housekeeping items with our gentleman Quentin there that you'll be seeing a little bit later. One of the videos we're going to play this morning is a ransomware video that Cisco has put out. I am on the actual CCAP, what they call CCAP for Cisco. So I'm one of the channel partner advisory groups. And when I was out there this last time with Cisco, they ran this video and I thought it would be very appropriate for what we've seen in the last few months, last few weeks, for us to start with. We're talking a lot about security today. So take a look at this video, and then we'll come back and have more questions after that. And then at 10:35, too, or at 10:20, we've got Steve Grogan's going to be talking to us, and then we have Rob Toscano, who is here today. We have his video. He was actually, I think we may actually have Rob talk a little bit too before he does this video, because Rob, he is the head of IT for eHealth and did a great job last night talking a little bit about how much we all work together and different things that eHealth does. So I think that'd be great. And then we have a video of Rob to go through. And then at 10:40, we'll have a short break. And then at 10:45, we have Justin Smith from Bright Computers will be here talking about the simplifying cybersecurity. And then I will come back at about 11:15 and do an update on Finger Lakes. So there's a lot of questions that we've had of customers since we're in the midst of a merger right now. First Light, what does that mean? What's that mean to all of you? It means good things, but I'll explain that to all of you at that time. And then today we're going to actually be on the back patio. Hopefully it will not rain. And we've got a couple different things going on. One of them is for lunch. We got food trucks coming up this time. We had a culinary chef here last night. And then you'll see out back too, we have our bucket trucks, we have our fiber splicing trailers back there, things like that that you guys can go back and see and actually work on it if you like to and learn how to splice fiber. If you like to do that, and if you're looking for a job splicing fiber, we've got openings for that. So we've got Sale here from Cisco, who will talk about Spark and do the demonstration on our board. And then we have another video from Winnet. So Winnet's another customer of ours. We had Julio actually on the Spark board last night. He's at Cisco Live. So he was a live feed last night from Vegas. Outside onto the Spark board, so he did a video presentation to us live and talked to us about what he's doing. So that was really cool. So we're going to I think we're going to do another one of those again today to demonstrate that too. And the demonstration we wanted to show was he used a basic laptop and he used wireless to do this, and it was perfect video that we saw last night. So it works very well. And then at 1:35, we're going to go into a short break, and then Mike Maffei is going to be up from Cisco to again talk about the security issues that are with us today. And at 2:30, again, we're going to have the SME fair. So outside is going to be set up with a whole bunch of different tables out there, so you can see different demonstrations of different equipment that we have. We're even going into, as you see in there, pole climbing, things like that. Not that you have to do that, but we're going to show you how we do it. Because remember, Finger Lakes does both. We're both a service provider outside building fiber, and we're also a Cisco VAR at the same time. So we wanted to explain that to you. Then at 3:30 to 5, we're going to have cocktails and hors d'oeuvres again in the cafe and then patio, so you can enjoy the day. And that's it. So if you have questions again during the day, please let us know. We're all here. We're going to be, if I could real quick, this is Paul Nikitas, Vice President of Sales, and Tony Bouvier, who heads up our Cisco Solutions for us. So again, two of these guys here that if you have questions, we have more people here, more pre-sales engineers here also, but just look for us if you have any questions and want to see anything more live. Okay, and with that, if we could run the video.
How did you decide to become a hacker?
Well, I'm not really sure what it means to become a hacker. That's like some guy in a hoodie who types really fast and stays up all night writing code and cracking passwords. It's not me. I just spy on people and see what makes them click. It's not a bad job.
Mark Hanning, CEO of Qualicart, set to report earnings after their blockbuster IPO.
So you consider this a job?
I put a lot of work into this. I'm not lazy. It takes research to figure out the key players, learn all about them, their families, their friends, what they care about. You have to understand the company's organization. I get a lot of my information from the sales department because they're always so quick and eager. They're hungry. People trust too easily. They don't look at the details. I do. Details matter. That's what I'm good at. It has to look completely believable. It has to look familiar. This is where research is important. It's not some generic piece of spam. It's an email from their boss with their company's signature. It's written in the voice of the boss. It's what he would say if he were writing this.
What about the malware itself? How does that work?
Somebody else out there already wrote all the code that does the actual attack. I'm just using it in the attachment. My skill is in my ability to get a bunch of people to click on that attachment. I always wonder what it's like when the whole thing unfolds on their end, when the panic sets in.
Please leave your message after the beep.
Hey, this is Rajiv in finance. Call me as soon as you get this. Something's up with my laptop. I can't.
Are you on your way into the office? Something's going on with our file servers.
Karen in HR, our benefits dashboard seems really slow. We're getting calls from users on it. Give me a call when you get this. Joining conference now.
Apparently, there's a malware attack targeting our main.
It's ransomware. They're holding us hostage.
We're locked out of everything. I can't even check my phone. What about the backup?
That will take days.
We need this fixed now. Pay it. We don't have a choice. We're reporting earnings in 2 hours.
But how do we know that
Just
they'll...
pay it. Put every single person on getting us back up and running. That's the only priority now.
Okay, it's done.
I have the decrypt key. Mark, we have a big problem. The ransomware was just to distract us. They got inside. They got everything. Customer data, financials, everything.
Qualicart is reeling today from the news that hackers have released the personal information of nearly
The
2
Nasdaq
million
closed
customers.
lower today, led by Qualicart, which was down 14% on news that their recent data breach may be far worse than the company
Its stock
originally
fell to a
acknowledged.
new all-time low on news that CEO Mark Hanning is stepping down after what is turning out to be one of the worst breaches of personal information in recent history.
Do you feel bad about releasing the personal information? All the financials? All the money that was lost?
All I did was get the files. I'm not the one that decided to release them. I'm not the one that shorted the stock. Somebody else had their reasons for that. It's above my pay grade. I was paid to do a job, and I did it well. And that's what's expected of anyone, isn't it? Anyway, markets bounce back.
Good morning, everyone in the room with us today. Thank you for having me here today, and to those that are out on the telecast as well. If there's any issues with hearing me, please make sure you communicate that in. I appreciate the time, and let me just a little something here. Okay, very good. So today I'm here to talk to you at the advent of this great event, and what I'm here to talk about is a transformation in security and compliance management from where we've been over the last 2 decades to a posture and an approach that moves to a more of continuous security compliance management for the program and the platform, and equipping everybody in this room and your respective roles and responsibilities for this with the appropriate tools and technology now at the top level to make appropriate decisions, to monitor what's going on in your environment, to respond appropriately, And then, more importantly, to put yourself in a posture of continuous improvement in that capability. The business cases are pretty apparent. You saw some in the video for moving this to a comprehensive function within the organization. By comprehensive, I mean let's equip this function with the same tools, capabilities, and management capabilities that we find in sales before there was CRM, before there were various lead generation systems and those kind of things, with the same kind of rigor and systems that we find in our finance areas. The business case is pretty apparent, all the way to the sustainability of your operation, someone taking it for ransom, someone taking you out of business. Many of you have service-oriented industries, I learned last night, and you're reliant on the network and your ability to do things. So overall, sustainability of your business is the number one business case. Secondly, it is related to the cost of sharing your compliance responsibilities with cybersecurity insurers. These individuals want to see how you are maturing. They want to see with what level of competence, with what level of rigor you are currently managing these responsibilities across a broad spectrum of your environment. And by broad, I mean there's the IT spectrum, there's the human spectrum, and there's the external spectrum with your partners and those types of things. And then lastly, the number of stakeholders you are now accountable to for this particular functional responsibility has grown exponentially. It's the board, it's your customers, it's the liability industry. If you're publicly traded, it's the financial services industry. So from a business case perspective, it makes sense to move this to a comprehensive function. It makes sense to change the dynamic from periodic inspection, silos of tools and capabilities, and the ability of miracle workers like you to aggregate this into useful information that drives the program and leaves it sustainable, to a comprehensive function that can use tools and capabilities. If we take it from the perspective of anatomy of a threat, not much has changed over time. It's the same three components that we've always seen. It's the actors externally providing us attacks. It's the IT, governance, and controls, somewhat deficient in various areas, leaving things open or not getting things done. We saw yesterday and the day before the latest ransomware. While it is a big deal, it's ultimately about effectively patching a port on a server. More importantly, Microsoft is telling people, here's the port you got to patch and here's what you have to do, informing the actors. And if you don't do it, it's wide open for those kind of things. So it's not magic and science. The last is the human factor. Rob gave a very nice talk last night. I don't know if you're speaking again today, Rob, or not, on the human factor in the e-healthcare business. An ability for security awareness training to take his environment and bring up the culture of awareness within that environment to the point where it's measurable, where we take, I'll just say, deficiencies in the 40% range and bring those down over time by focusing and working on that to 1%, 2%, and almost non-existent. So the human factor is always going to be there. These have been here. Our approaches have always been the same. Threats evolve. Preventative measures, the tools, and some of the things you'll be introduced to today and you already have in your environments, all excellent investments of your time. But ultimately, threats evolve, preventative measures evolve, threat intelligence evolves, we churn, what we focus on churns, happens to be phishing, happens to be ransomware, happens to be malware, SQL injection at this point in time. Prior it was an as service, etc. Another year from now it'll be something else. And we make small incremental steps in regard to our ability to manage the program effectively, to the point where this is an improvement of 30% that something can be in our environment for 84 days on average before detected, and can take anywhere from 69 to 2.5 days to get remediated. Why? Because we're kind of in the same loop. We're moving along. We have to have a dramatic change as to what's going on, and we have to move to a more continuous monitoring, inspection, and a remediation. It's all about awareness. We're not keeping anybody out anymore. We're ultimately in an awareness, respond, and react state. When we don't respond in this fashion, we watch the evolution of the regulatory environments take things into their own hands and start prescribing for us what your program needs to look like and what the key components of that program need to look like as it relates to effective management. This is happening at a couple of different levels. This is happening across industry-based regulations, where a number of industries, HIPAA-based regulation, has assumed the higher standards of cybersecurity framework, and I'm going to call it NIST 853 for those that understand what that is. I don't like to throw those kinds of things around. Similarly, NERC has done that, and they keep lining up to those particular standards. The primary difference between those and many of the standards you have previously been working with is that those standards expect a program of this nature and caliber, with the key components being, highest focused components being policy, as always, well documented, communicated, effective for everybody, assessments on a regular basis to understand where everyone is, your vulnerability and incident management type activities, as well as the appropriate competency within your organization, everything from a chief security officer role down through the people that are operating within the various ranks of your organization to your business partners that are operating in that particular space. So regulation is mandating, in response to some of those other factors we talked, what a holistic program needs to look like. And within that program, they're mandating continuous monitoring and management in the context that goes beyond now what you're used to, which has been your IT systems, your network parameters, such. Continuous monitoring and management of the threats in your security awareness area, the threats in your storage area, and the threats with your business associates if you're in healthcare, and the threats with your business partners. If we talked to Julio last night, and his whole business is on supply chain and partners in EDI. And many of you also have the same kind of things. So prescriptive programs are coming out. When you look at this, depending on where you are on the maturity scale, this is either a huge undertaking or it's a new reality that says, how do I go about getting all of these comprehensive capabilities into one program, and how do I manage that from the top, like the business function that it needs to be managed? I propose, as you think about it from a strategic horizon, you think about kind of the following. First and foremost, and my picture's on top of that, I apologize, take a maturity model aspect and approach just like you would for any other business function. Understand where you are in the model as it relates to your ability to manage and control and, I'll say, confidently communicate where the posture is for your particular organization. Are you to tier 1 partial, or are you all the way down to adaptive, which is pretty much purely proactive in so many states? You're using analytics and other things and threat intelligence to stay way ahead of your curve. Because your security and compliance program at this point in time is a business enabler. It's no longer a sentry, keep the people out, how do we protect the world? It's a business enabler that helps your various business models that the leaders and the executives of your companies want to put forth, and your ability to apply appropriate risk management issues to make that happen. So understanding your maturity model is the first step, and probably the most important if you don't do anything else. After that, you want to align what I call your business framework. Too often, people are challenged right now without knowing what are the real most important assets we have in our particular organization, where do they fit in the framework, and how have I communicated my responsibility to manage those across the organization, across the various departments in the organization. We talked about a culture of intelligence, security awareness. We talked about a culture of secure the human is the term we try to use, in our particular business discussions as we help people build programs. And what we mean by that is we have to make it second nature for people to understand the aspects of security and compliance. Too often, and not to their fault, they've come from a world where that's been taken care of. Isn't that the IT guys? Isn't that somebody like that who's doing that for me? And now as they incur those types of things on their personal side, if you can draw the bridge between the personal things that they're thinking about more regularly and your business aptitudes, and making that awareness, it tends to relate a lot better to people than just, fill out the tests, sit through the lunch and learn, do whatever you have to do, and go in that context. So at a strategic level, maturity model is the most important. Back that up with a business-oriented approach to your overall program specifically focused and aligned to those major assets that are there. And lastly, an inherent culture of awareness throughout the organization. The real kicker at this point in time from an operating standpoint is this migration to what I call platforms that support continuous monitoring and management of your security and compliance environments. So an overall platform in the context, and again, I apologize, my picture is kind of on top of this. If I can draw you to the inner circle, while the overall model represents your responsibilities on a day-to-day basis as you direct the program and the plan from a Chief Information Security Officer perspective, a Director of Networks, anywhere in between. Ultimately, you have your mandates, many multiples, or just one that are required. Ultimately, you have responsibilities for risk and baseline assessments to go on. And then you have the core of your program. You have a platform of authoritative sources, so on and so forth. As we think about these platforms, they're giving you the tools, and they're just not inherent platforms. It started about 2012, I think you started seeing this come up in the context. The SIM providers, the log correlation engine providers, they all started talking about platforms. They're adding workflow capabilities to their environments. They're adding some intelligence, threat intelligence to their environments. They're positioning those as more real-time. ITSM, IT service management providers, started doing the exact same thing with their particular capabilities. And the high-end GRC providers, such as your metric streams and your archers, and some of those particular individuals. So this isn't a concept we're making up. This is coming of age with the evolution after 2 decades of addressing the issues of security and compliance as they come about into a comprehensive function. So if we think about the main components, risk assessments, I want you to imagine a world on this kind of platform, because it does exist, and I don't want you to think platform is, oh my God, lots of money to be spent and lots of ERP. We're talking about, in many cases, money you've already spent, just doing it a different way. Everybody gets assessments accomplished in their organization, periodically or otherwise, and then how many people get a paper report? Multiple pages, here you go, here's your recommendations and all that. Have fun, go find a way to put it in. These assessments on the platforms are done using your controls, your control tests and those types of things. And the output of that assessment becomes your first configuration on the platform or the improved configuration. So your plan of action and maintenance, the things you need to work on, and those types of things are already there as your starting point, as opposed to you now translating paper into that kind of context. So think about that as an enabler, that it's automatically an actionable output. Also think about it as an enabler for many of you have a lot of partnerships in the execution of your business. I don't know what your current method of assessing those partnerships is. I can tell you from my experience, I've seen everything from questionnaires, periodic surveys, and then the assimilation of that information becomes a nightmare at the top where decisions are being made. Ultimately, you're doing this to give an authority to operate, right, in conjunction with your environment. Think about using, again, a platform that already has the assessment. You take the same assessment and apply it holistically or in a smaller subset to your particular partners. Now it's already aligned to your controls, to your policies, to your quality standards, to your scores and measures. It's a beautiful thing. You can do it whenever you want. You can do them all at once. You can do them once in a year. So that's assessments. Policy management, again, everybody has policies, more than likely, in various degrees of maturity, at least what we find. They're written, they're tribal, they're somewhat understood, they're not always understood. Policies as it relates to these types of platforms are table stakes. You don't have to invoke hours and hours of consulting help to write your policies and controls. And these platforms, you name a mandate, we align it to your profile type, and we auto-load notional best practices. You name the mandate. We load the policy statements, the controls, the control tests, the control test implementation activities, and then it becomes a consulting high-value exercise with you that aligns that to your actual business need and speciality. So again, as you're thinking about that, let's transfer the money you're already spending into something that's moving you forward on your journey and your transformation. into those kind of components. I hope that makes sense for folks. It also establishes an accelerated path for you to publish or promote those either to your partners or throughout your respective organization. We think about a couple of the other key components. Vulnerability and incident management. That's the big one, right? I left the sheet out there because, I don't know, it's got 10,000 providers on a piece of paper across 15 different disciplines, IDM providers, outsourced MSSP providers, so on and so forth, so on and so forth. That's where we've been. That's fantastic. But in your particular role, again, at the top, who's filtering out all the noise? Who's aligning to the priorities? God bless the people who got caught with this most recent ransomware activity. Through no fault of their own, I'm sure. They're all trying to do the best thing they possibly can. But they're so busy working on so many things, did they remember to do the patching? Did they remember? These kinds of systems are not only taking your previous investments in those tools, importing those and aggregating those to effective responsibilities of work with workflows and assigning those as remediation tickets and things. They're also dropping those immediately into your plan of action and your compliance reporting, because you're all on the hook to basically tell somebody for every deficiency you have, here's where it started, here's my chain of evidence, here's where it closed. And it's all on the same platform for you. So again, as you think about it, this is all in the context of let's equip people who have been doing these kinds of responsibilities to the organization with the appropriate tools now that warrant the comprehensive function that it is to manage the environment. POAM and compliance reporting, same type of thing. From the onset, plans of actions and milestones come out of your assessments. Plans of action and milestones come out of your vulnerability, incident, and threat response activities and auto-load to these particular areas. These reports can be pre-configured, again, in the platform, and I don't mean hours and hours of configuration and let's run through all our business rules. We're talking, in some platforms, somewhere between 4 and 12 weeks to get the platform up and turn it over to you. We're talking time to value to you within 2 to 3 weeks. Already work being done on the platform and executed. So I just want you to understand where these come from. There's some very high ends that could be configuration nightmares, and there's others that are still a little limited, but they get you where you need to be. But the POAM and the compliance reporting, again, how many people have to chase around and roll up spreadsheets and collaborate information together and then put it in the context and reference into what we said previously as far as contiguous stories and the knowledge base and where's the evidence and all of those types of things. So platforms are pretty important in that context. And then audit. My experience with audit has been less than favorable in most any instance I've been in 26 years. It's a disruptive to your organization if it's external audit. The plan and the activities and the evidence and all those types of things can become contentious, but more than likely it's just expensive. And many times it seems repetitive to you. Because if you're in some businesses that we support or government entities that we support, they're being audited by multiple agencies in sequential months against the same set of controls. The platform provides you the opportunity to test once, collect your evidence, use that for your audit, and then use many times because you're cross-mapping your controls. So again, as you think about today, as you learn more about what's available to you in tools and capabilities and services, I'd ask you to please think about what am I going to use as my management platform to take this program under continuous monitoring and management for the benefit of my organization. The business cases dictate that I have to do that. The regulatory bodies are dictating that I have to do that. If you get to a platform state, I'm trying to use a little example here using the DFS, and I don't know you all apply to the DFS. The numbers of requirements that are automatically addressed, better than half, because you're operating in a plat context, are there for you. They're there for you on a continuous basis. They're there for you from a maturity standpoint. So ultimately, the value streams are, right? You're unifying, you're monitoring, and your approach to the effectiveness of internal controls as well as external controls across the entire organization and the entire control base. To the same level of rigor, everyone is focused on the IT components of that. Operational collaboration, because everyone's working off the same single source of truth with what's happening across the organization, goes way up, which helps with awareness, response time, continuous improvement. Transforms the efficiency of the organization. I don't know how many people have continued but to try to look for security resources in an affordable state in the regions where you live or work. It's becoming quite a challenge. It reminds me when I was a pup working in IT and jobs were at your disposal because that was a young industry at the time. How do we do more with less, and how do we focus on what's most important? And we provide cost-effective, transparent visibility to your stakeholders on demand. You're in a state of readiness at all times. Whether you want to use role-based dashboards, whether you want to use output reports, the state of your environment is there at all points in time, from the assessment capability down through the remediation to your plans of action and what you're working on most importantly. So that's my talk for today, is that you would give some consideration as you think about your security and compliance responsibilities, that one, whether you like it or not, it's going to a continuous monitoring and management state across the program, not just the IT components of the program. It's time for it to be enabled by providing the appropriate tools through a platform to individuals like yourselves who are decisioning and with responsibility for the program overall, to decision that program, to monitor that program, and put it on a state of continuous improvement and maturity. There is no more everybody's safe and we're blocking it out type of thing. And it's putting you in a state to most cost effectively address the needs of your business in a supportive enabling standpoint as opposed to that. Whether that's at the highest level, the cost of, I'm working with one customer who pays $100 million in cybersecurity insurance across 118 agencies in the state. We start putting these states on something that can prove their level of competence to a standard that everyone's agreed to, that goes way down in a big way. The ability to add efficiencies to your organizations, et cetera. So think about that. I'm here for the day. I am typically hanging with Greg and Bill Teglis and Brendan, but I'm here. I'll be roaming around. If you have some questions, I'd love to talk about this in more detail or some of the things you're challenged with. I thank you for your time, and I don't know if I'm supposed to ask questions now or just get the heck out of the way.
If there's questions, please put them in the Spark room so we can get those to Steve. Steve, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and ideas. We appreciate it.
All right. I'll leave this right here. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
So next, what we'd like to do is we have a short video from eHealth with Rob Toscano. And Rob, when we get done with the video, Rob is actually going to do a live testimonial too. Not only on film, he's going to be live. So he's going to go get mic'd up and you got to get the makeup and all that kind of stuff too. So, Rob, as you are going to hear, he's the Senior Director of IT and Security for eHealth. And we did this video of him that we'd like to share with you. And then he's going to talk a little bit about his experience both with us and with Cisco and what they have going on in their company. So with that, the video.
eHealth Technologies works with referral management and medical records. When a patient has a need for cancer or transplant type of treatment, something specialized, on behalf of that provider, we will obtain their medical records to make the most use of their initial appointment. eHealth Technologies houses a very large electronic protected health information data store. Some of the requirements in having that data store are that we have to be inside of a SOC 2 Type 2 data center. I reached out to Finger Lakes Technologies Group because FLTG was one of the only SOC 2 Type 2 data centers in upstate New York. This allowed us to have an easy transition and ensure that our customer needs were met. Another challenge that we had faced that FLTG helped us with was with our telephony. We had an on-site telephone system that didn't really seem to be meeting any of the needs that we expected from it. At this point, Finger Lakes had suggested the Cisco hosted solution. FLTG helped eHealth Technologies in finding the correct solution by listening to our needs. When I first approached them, their sales team was very focused on every one of our needs and in coming up with a solution and how they can meet those needs. Finger Lakes has been helping us in ensuring that the network is stable, ensuring that the network is available, and ensuring I'm having zero downtime whenever possible. I would and have frequently recommended Finger Lakes Technologies Group to many other companies. The products are stable, they're a proven platform, the network is extremely stable, the staffing is fantastic, they're very responsive, and I've never had any issues or complaints with them. I can't say that about many other companies. One of the things I want to talk about is, number one, the business relationship that we've partnered with Finger Lakes Technologies Group. And one of the experiences I wanted to share with you today that I didn't share last night, for those who heard me talk last night, is about the cutover we had with our hosted voice solution. To give you a little background, we're an outbound call center, so we really depend on our phone availability, the reporting functionality of it, and the production that we get out of our phone system is really critical to our business. We're a record retrieval company. We're one of the largest clearinghouses for protected health information in the nation. We go out and retrieve patient medical records on behalf of providers across the country in order to create a customized report for specialists. So as a patient goes into their appointment, we basically have a real detailed and keyword highlighted report that's pertinent to that specialist that they've been waiting to see. We turn that information around in a few days, and we do that by having a lot of outbound phone calls being made, a lot of emails, a lot of faxing, everything secure, of course. However, we had, again, to give you a little background on our phone system, we had originally purchased an on-prem solution and were promised the world, click to dial for functionality to ensure that people aren't making mistakes, all kinds of outbound reporting that we could get. Long story short, we struggled with this phone system. So we had this on-prem solution. We spent a lot of money on it. Every time we were introducing additional users into the community, we needed additional licensing. We were spending upwards of $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year on new licenses for this phone system and weren't getting what we were promised out of it. When I started with eHealth in September of 2014, I saw all the issues that we were having with this phone system and the vendor that we were using, and I'm not going to mention names, of course, but I ended up firing them in probably September. I started in September. I think I fired them in January or February. Found another vendor that swore up and down they can support the system, they can do everything that we want this system to do, so we hired them. And this was in early 2015, and by July, it was very evident that they weren't getting anywhere either. Everything that we were promised with both the phone system and the support just wasn't there. So Russ Chase and I started talking about moving us to a hosted voice platform. Finger Lakes put on a phenomenal demo to make sure the solution would work. They didn't want to sell us something and then have us in the same boat we were in, very disappointed. We came in here, I brought a number of our key operational folks, including both regional directors, team leads. I think we had a couple of entry-level CSS people that use the phones. And they came in and did a full-out demo. They got to see the Finesse system, which allows them to see the call queuing, call reporting, everything that we've been looking for, they showed us on the system. So that was step one. That really showed us that they care about the solution, they care about the product that we're going to be getting and making sure that it's going to meet all of our needs. It's not just here's the check, walk out the door, and we don't hear from them again. It wasn't that situation at all. This was fantastic because I had the reassurance that now I'm bringing in a solution that's going to make our operational folks happy. We're a company of about 230 people as of today. There's about 170 people that are in the operations group. So really, they're the bulk of our company. They're doing the core work that's making the revenue for eHealth Technologies. I wanted to make sure they were happy. That's the last thing I want, is to come in and put another solution in that just frustrates them. So I got their sign off. That was all great. Now we had this real long, detailed project plan for making it as smooth of a transition as we could. Obviously, a lot of user training. So Finger Lakes brought in some trainers. They had, as we got closer to the cutover, they had a full, I think we had 3 days. Is that right, Paul? We had full 3 days of training where users came in on a rotational basis to learn how to use their system. And again, this was all before we even cut over, so they didn't know what they were doing on day one. part of this transition plan was porting all the numbers from our other carrier to Frontier. I'm sorry, to Finger Lakes from Frontier. There we go. It's cat's out of the bag. Sorry about that, guys. And no notes, so it's tough to off the top of the head here. So we're doing this porting transition plan, and the SIP trunks that we were going to temporarily use with Finger Lakes, knowing that eventually they were going to be cut off and going to the hosted voice platform. During this whole thing, we were working with our current vendor that was supporting the phone system. They didn't know what we were planning on doing, of course, because I needed their support at the same time. Not trying to be shady, but I got a business to worry about, as everybody can understand. It got to the point where we were running more and more roadblocks, again, because of the phone system or because of this vendor's lack of understanding on the product. I can't say definitively what it was. However, the whole time Finger Lakes was working with me, and we got to the point where we're doing this cutover for simply switching who's using the SIP trunks, pointing those numbers from going from one carrier over to Finger Lakes. And they all said, this will be no problem, half hour tops. So we started this call at, I want to say, 6:30 in the morning. At 9:30 in the morning, this line of red from my blood pressure rising on my face as our phone systems are still down and they couldn't figure out how to cut this over. Meanwhile, I'm emailing Justin Vane and saying, all right, I'm giving them another 15 minutes and then we're going to plan B, which is we're going to do this hot cut. I'm just going to do it. We had all the phones in place, the training was in place. It's time to fly by the seat of our pants and just get this thing working now. And ultimately at 9:45, I interrupted them and says, guys, I can't do this anymore. We have the rest of our staff coming in at 10. It's time to cut over. I'm going to plan B, so thanks for your help. And I ended the call. Within 20 minutes, Justin and his team were on site, helping my whole staff and get everything cut over. We had the whole phone system back up and running in roughly an hour and 15 minutes time from that. And again, it was just a true testament of the dedication that these guys had in helping us out, making sure that we had that solution in place. Users were already trained. This was something that was high stress. I get panicky thinking about it today still because it was really brutal, but it was wonderful having these guys helping us out the entire time. Nobody hesitated to jump on board. We had everything from engineers working my conference room, getting users provisioned and cut over, to the trainers were out there unplugging and plugging phones in for us because we had to switch all the hardware out. And it's been running absolutely perfect ever since. I shouldn't have to knock on wood, but it's just the IT superstition over here. It's been running absolutely perfect since. It's meeting all their needs. Everybody's been very happy with it. I get constant feedback saying how wonderful, number one, the hosted voice solution's been, how fantastic Finger Lakes was. Our CEO wanted to come in and meet with everybody to express his gratitude for the dedication these guys had. I should also note, I never asked them to come on site and give me a hand. That was all volunteer on Justin's part and getting the team rallied. So it was wonderful. I appreciate it. So still do. So thank you all.
Thank you. So, thanks, Ross.
Thanks.
How about a hand for Rob? At this point, what we'd like to do is take a short break. The bathrooms, again, are down the hall. There's some right out here to the right, then across the hall down there. If you like that, we have some food, coffee. There's more stuff in the cafe. And then when we get back, we actually are going to have a raffle prize, which is going to be an iWatch, so you got to come back for that. And then we will have Justin Smith after our break. So go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back with you. Welcome back, everybody. What we're going to do at this point, for the people that are here in our facility, we are going to do a giveaway. So we have I think an iWatch. It's the first thing we're going to do. So we have it here live for you. And the lucky winner is Stephen Tatum. Tatum?
All right.
Bingo.
Congratulations. You're very welcome.
We got the slides moving. So at this point, what I'd like to do is introduce to you Justin Smith, who is with Bright Computers. So Justin's right down the street from us, good partner of ours, and we'd like to have him talk a little bit today on the cybersecurity and simplifying that. So with that, Justin?
That's all right. Well, thank you, Paul. I really appreciate it. You're a rock star, you know that? I realized that today watching you. You're absolutely a rock star, getting everybody introduced here. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much to you and Paul and Jessica and the entire team at Finger Lakes for having us here today. It's really appreciated. And what I wanted to do is just kind of, before I get started here, I'm trying to make this as interactive as possible. I know there's people all over the place right now viewing this presentation, but in terms of who we have here in the room today, can you give me a sense of, do we have business owners in the room here that's in front of me? Do we have IT professionals primarily, security professionals? What do we have? IT professionals, raise your hand. Business owners, okay. Security specific professionals? Okay, great. So I'll take that as a sampling size of what we have out in cyberspace right now. One of the things, I think Steve talked about it nicely, there's a lot going on in today's world. There's a tremendous amount of noise that's taking place. Regulations are really overtaking our day-to-day lives as IT professionals, as IT security professionals. And regardless of who we talk to as an organization, whether it's a small business or a very large enterprise organization, such as a large financial institution or a large healthcare organization, maybe a hospital or insurer, they're inundated with a tremendous amount of information, a ton of regulations, the need to be compliant, the need to constantly be performing audits, and that noise is really causing a lot of pain and suffering for them. And so what we've tried to do is simplify IT security to some extent. And of course, this is a very complicated matter we're talking about, but we're trying to simplify it. Another kind of little survey here. Who is familiar with some of the regulatory frameworks that are out there today, the SANS framework or NIST? Some people might be using NIST, ISO. There's a number of them out there, right? We see people figuring out what they're going to adhere to, what framework they're going to follow, and then they're trying to follow it to their best of their ability. And I think Steve said that before. People are just trying to do the best they can, and even while trying to do the best they can, there are still a lot of bad guys out there. So, did anybody get hit with Petya yesterday? Didn't want to admit it? No? No? Well, you're lucky then. So Maersk, FedEx, or a division of FedEx yesterday, TNT over in Europe was hit. It's the second time FedEx has been hit with a large malware outbreak here in recent months, and it's pervasive. And one of the things that we've seen and we like to talk about is this being the wild, wild west. Does anybody feel like that right now? The wild, wild west, or walking into a Tombstone, there's a fight at the OK Corral, there's very little law out there. A lot of bad guys, and we're kind of on our own, right? We've got to go take care of business on our own. So it's really scary. Just one bullet can cause a lot of damage, and there's really not a lot of protection out there. And I don't see that, we don't see that changing anytime soon. Does anybody in this room see that changing anytime soon? Right? It's incredibly hard to prosecute anybody who's committing cybercrime these days. It takes years in some cases to even find the people, and then years to prosecute them in a global legal environment. And so it really truly is the Wild West. We're going to get it under control one day, maybe, but it's not anytime soon. And I think that's the scary thing for everybody in this room and everybody on the phone. So again, what we've tried to do is simplify things. I'm going to get that in 2 seconds here, but we've seen a real change in IT security and awareness for IT security, and just organizations' willingness to have open conversations about IT security. Has anybody seen that? Before it was like, we have nothing wrong, we're protected, we're fine, we've got our antivirus, and we're good to go. I don't want to have a conversation because they felt like, oh my God, we don't have our act together, and I don't need to let anybody know. I don't want anybody to know, right? Does anybody remember those days? I think those days are long gone, and it's a good thing. I think people are open and willing to have an IT security conversation now within their organization, with executives above them, and with partners and other peers. I see organizations in this community and throughout the country having peer conversations. How are you handling this? How are you addressing this? Did you have this problem? When you had this problem, how did you respond to it? These things are really, really important. But that conversation, where it used to be very contained, is now one that's being had across a wide depth and breadth of layers. And so we today talk about two customer types. We talk about customers that have been breached to some extent, and breaches can be categorized as simple as a small little antivirus or virus outbreak or malware outbreak that affects 1, 2, 3 devices, to something that's catastrophic in nature and is taking down widespread enterprise systems, affecting end users. Data is being stolen and utilized in malicious ways. So that's kind of customer one is somebody who's been breached. Customer two is, or type two, is somebody who's been breached and they just don't know it yet. And believe it or not, there's a lot of those people out there. Even large enterprise organizations are sitting here today, as we sit here and talk, have been breached and they don't know it. And they might not know it for another couple days, they might not know it for another couple of years. And that's the really scary aspect of it. So I'm not trying to create all this fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You guys are educated professionals. You've been in this industry, I'm assuming, for quite some time, and so you understand these things. I'm probably not telling you anything different, but I'm telling you kind of our approach to things. So what we've done is tried to simplify cybersecurity, and I'm going to get to that here for a few seconds. So I think if I just click on this, it's going to address. Just a little bit about us real quick, just to set the precedent. We were founded in 1983. We've been around for a long time. We're a privately held organization. We have 4 core business units. Our slide's not building out properly here, but that's okay. Have 17 years in cybersecurity now. So a lot of people, I think, used to know Bright Computers as an OEM white box manufacturer. The company that I bought in 1999 from the founder was a white box OEM manufacturer. We saw the writing on the wall. We weren't going to be able to compete with Dell and Compaq and all those good guys, Lenovo's of the world. And so we started to transform our business very quickly after buying the companies. So for the last 17 years, we've been building our cybersecurity practice. I will tell you that 95% of our effort on the commercial side of our business is spent on helping customers with their data and network security issues and getting them prepared to protect their data at rest, their data in use, their data in motion, and now their data in the cloud. And before it was kind of very simple. It was AV, maybe a little encryption. No one ever had any antivirus or any type of protection on the servers. The switches were what they were, and you had a firewall out there, and you thought you were good. And you were good. But now the game has changed. So we've built this practice up. We've staffed it with engineers. Anything we would ever, as an organization, talk to you about, my goal and objective as the leader of the organization is to make sure that we have engineering capabilities to support that architecturally, to deliver that technology to you, and then most importantly, support it after the fact. We see so many of our large enterprise customers, so small businesses, of course, but large enterprise customers, people that you think would be able to deploy a solution and support it long term, Fortune 500 type of companies, struggle to get the greatest value out of the technologies they're purchasing. They will spend $1 million on a security platform, rack and stack it, implement it, and it just sits there. They might get some high-level visibility out of it. They might be utilizing 1 or 2 of the features and functionalities of it, but they never get the true value. And that's because they just think they can do it on their own, or they run into an issue where resources are pulled into another project. They have challenges there. So we have really taken on this mindset, and we have this edict throughout our organization. We are going to be able to support these customers. We want them to get return on their investment. We want to see them have a total cost of ownership that they deserve. And so we're very, very focused on that. And we've built out national coverage. So I don't know if this slide's going to build out on it, but it didn't. So here's just a sampling of our clients. Some of you may be in this room. It's just shows a little bit of a diversity of our organization. All of these customers are security customers to some extent and have been for a period of time. Again, I talked a little bit about our people and process. We really focus on certifications to back up the technologies. We really focus on managing projects really well. From the very, very get-go, we see a lot of problems with customers implementing technologies and implementing projects that don't get managed well. So a lot of times we're stepping in, and in fact, we're kind of forcing that down to some extent on our customers to work with us from a project management perspective. And by the way, project management doesn't necessarily mean it needs to cost any more of the solution. It just means that we're managing the project using an ITIL framework to manage that project and make sure that what we say we're going to do, we do, and what we say the customer needs to do to help us implement successfully is done. So simplifying IT security, when you look at SANS or NIST or whatever framework you're looking at, it can be very daunting. Steve, in his earlier presentation, started to talk about DFS. You see regulations like the Department of Financial Services regulation that's hitting New York State that at one point in time or some point in time probably will be pushed out nationwide, perhaps. You're going to continue to see these. So you see DFS, you see HIPAA, you see PCI, all these compliance regulations, and then you see these frameworks that are trying to help you get to compliance. And it becomes extremely, extremely daunting, extremely frustrating. Steve had that slide up there. There was like 5 or 6 different things. Had some solutions to help solve them. It's fantastic. What we try to do is we've closely followed a SANS model, okay? So there's SANS 20 critical criteria. 1 and 2 on that list right now are visibility into your hardware assets and your software assets. They change from time to time. SANS will change that around. 1 and 2 today might not be 1 and 2 tomorrow. They could be 19 and 20. But right now, those are the 2. And what we've tried to do is, instead of having 20 criteria for customers to look at, we've tried to break it down into actually these 5 tenets. And I'll give my brother some credit. He's our real cybersecurity guru, runs our office down in New York City and spends a lot of time with large financial institutions and other Fortune 500 companies down there. And he saw these organizations struggling with even these frameworks. And so he broke it down into these 5 tenets. And as a matter of fact, it looks like NIST, who's using NIST today, or following NIST? Looks like NIST is trying to simplify their framework and moving to like 5 or 6 tenets just to get to a model that I think people can understand a little bit more. So when we look at cybersecurity, we look at these 5 tenets: detect and protect, secure access, advanced threat protection, data protection, and then compliance. And so just to give you an idea of what these mean to us, detect and protect is obviously visibility, just to keep it very high level, very simple. Do I understand what's on my network? How can you protect anything if you don't know what's out there? Okay. We recently went through an engagement with an organization that told us they thought they had around 22 or 23,000 IPs, devices that were pulling an IP address. Okay. When we put a solution in place to give them visibility into these endpoint devices, we found 63,000 IPs, 3 times the number of IPs they thought, because they were only looking at the very basic information that they were able to get out of SCCM or some of their basic network tools. They missed every single IP phone that they had out there. There was over 20,000 of those. So IP phones, right? Rob just talked about that. Has this awesome system from FLTG. FLTG actually has some network security or IP telephony security involved in some of those things to break those connections and make sure that they're protected properly. But it's an IP address sitting out on your network, and it's a potential point of breach. And today it hasn't been a major focus of these bad guys out there with the guns in the OK Corral, but I guarantee you they're going to start coming after that stuff more because it's been overlooked. So detect and protect, visibility. How do we find something, and then once we find those assets, what do we do to protect them? Okay. Secure access, you have, the old days was, okay, we're going to give somebody a VPN connection and they're going to get into the corporate network and they can do everything they want. That's not good enough anymore. There's two-factor authentication, there's multi-factor authentication. When you, who's ever done online banking? Everybody in this room raises their hand. So if you use a computer that maybe refreshed their browser, you went from one version of Chrome to another, or one version of IE to another version of IE, the next time you use that browser to log into your banking application, I know in my world I use Chase, I know that they don't recognize that browser, the information's not there anymore, so they want to have some type of multi-factor authentication. So there's two aspects of it today. There's end-user multi-factor authentication, and then there's internal corporate two-factor or multi-factor authentication. So there's two-sided now. It used to be, okay, maybe we're going to just have two-factor authentication for certain users internally. Now we're all part of that game. They need to work on that with us. So secure access, just one of many. You see biometrics, you're seeing retina scanning, you're seeing facial recognition, you're seeing all these incredible things that are going into play there. Advanced threat protection, you hear, everybody in this room I'm sure have heard of 0 Day, you heard of the Petya virus. People, yesterday we saw somebody with Black Mamba. There's a ton of stuff out there. And unfortunately, be the first to tell you this, you can have every single antivirus platform and every single malware platform out there and all sorts of different layers in between there, and guess what? They're still going to get through somehow. So the key is, once they get through, how do you isolate that? How do you encapsulate that? How do you keep that from spreading? Because these guys, most of the people today, they want to get high, wide, or in deep. $350 Bitcoin ransom, $300 Bitcoin ransom, that's not really that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. I think the last time there was that global malware attack just a month or so ago, I think it was estimated that the people made like $75,000 or $100,000 on it. Really? They went through all that trouble and caused all that mayhem to make $75,000 or $100,000, maybe more when it was all said and done. But that's ridiculous, right? That's a lot of effort. Think about what these people would be able to do for our globe if they just put all those resources to good use. We might solve something serious like cancer or heart ailments or something like that. It's ridiculous. These are very smart people that are very poorly directed or have been misled for the most part. Of course, there's people being led by country leaders that are doing this to us as well, causing mayhem, but that's probably going to continue for a long period of time. So advanced threat protection is about what do we do, and coupled with data protection, how do we keep that data and the integrity of that data intact? So I think everybody certainly understands that, right? We want to keep stuff from coming in, then we want people to access the platforms that are supposed to access it, and then we're protecting that data as it rests and moves across the network. And then of course at the end, and this is becoming the biggest piece of all this now, because of the regulatory environment we're in, how do we prove that what we are doing, what we say we're doing, we are doing, or what we're supposed to be doing, we are doing? And that's all about the compliance piece. And compliance is very broad-reaching, very broad-reaching. A lot of different things fall into here. There's governance, there's risk, there's compliance, there's vendor risk management. I think a lot of people are looking at vendor risk. For years, vendor risk has been done on a spreadsheet. A compliance office has looked at all the different vendors that we're doing business with. And they go out there and they look at they do an assessment or pay somebody to do an assessment. Typically, IT security's got some involvement in this or all of the involvement, and it's time consuming. You have to look at all these vendors, like Upright, and do an analysis. Do these people know what the heck they're talking about? What are they doing? What are their internal security programs? What are their internal security policies? What's their infrastructure look like? What are they doing with the data? Are they touching any of our data? Do they have any access to any private information, non-public information that they shouldn't have access to? And so they're going through this whole risk. Today, that's becoming automated. I think Steve also talked about the automation aspect of things before. You can automate a lot of this stuff so humans don't have to be involved as much on this thing. So we see a lot in the vendor risk world where organizations are sharing data about other organizations and automating that vendor risk side of things. And that's become a big, big deal. What we've seen, and Steve kind of mentioned this before as well, I love mentioning Steve. Steve, this is for you. We're seeing this migration from all of these on-premise tools to at least a hybrid of on-premise technology and off-premise technology that's being delivered in a managed service or a managed security service. And a willingness, certainly a greater willingness to engage third-party organizations in helping at least monitor what's going on in their network environment. And so we've built out a lot of these solutions that once were just deployed, racked and stacked, deployed, utilized, and managed in a very enclosed, I'll call it, environment, to one now where there's managed security services that are encompassed in there. And that's where we're really honestly seeing the most value for the customers. I mentioned before, we see a lot of customers that have these multi-million-dollar capital budgets. It's great. They're able to purchase that technology. They have some of the best technology that's ever been created to protect data at rest and use in motion and in the cloud, and it never gets utilized fully. It never integrates with all these other tools. They don't talk to each other. There's no orchestration at a high level, and that becomes a big issue. So managed security services can help with the orchestration. They can help with the connectivity and the interaction between all these various tools that you've invested in. And I would say that 9 times out of 10 today, when we're talking to organizations that have made these investments, they're now willing and wanting very much to have these type of conversations. They'll say, how do you help us, or can you help us get all these tools to talk to each other? They have a SIM. They have a visibility tool. They have a DLP platform. They have an IPS IDS platform. They have an AV platform. They have all this stuff. None of it's talking together. Even if it was purchased from the same vendor, it still doesn't always talk to each other. And that's a problem. And in order to be fully secure, you need this stuff to talk to each other. So we're spending a tremendous amount of time helping customers get these tools and technologies to talk to each other, to get these feeds from all these technologies into a centralized platform so that we can view that. So any questions on that right now from the room? Or I don't know if there's any questions online. I'll take a quick pause. I think I'm doing pretty good on time right now. Larry.
Detect versus prevent. Can you talk a little bit about that, the difference?
Sure.
I'm fairly new to the security side of things, so it's a curiosity question.
So I think that's a great question. It's interesting. You can use a lot of different terminology when it comes to this. So you look at detection versus prevention versus protection, right? There's a lot of shuns in there. We look at detection as when something comes into our environment that is not right. It's an anomaly. Just doesn't look right. What are we doing with that? So we want to see all this traffic that comes in onto the network. We want to see all these anomalies, and we want to react to them. So how many people in this room work or own a SIM platform, Security Incident Event Monitoring Platform? Okay, so you know very complicated tools. What are you using, sir?
What's that?
What platform are you guys using?
Splunk with that.
Splunk, okay. So the Splunk, QRadar, Logarithm, there's a ton of them, right? So what we see is, a lot of these tools are collecting this data. We're feeding it up to a security incident and event monitoring or management platform like a Splunk, a Logarithm, a QRadar, and we're collecting that information. That tool, if tuned properly, should be looking for anomalies that are happening in your environment and detecting that. Okay, once it detects it, if it's connected, and this gets back to the orchestration conversation, if it's connected to a tool that can now protect, it can do something about that. all right? And it can prevent the threat from going any further. So for instance, I give you a very basic high level, Larry, because you said you're new to this, but in an event that something comes through that looks malicious and we want to do something with it, we can detect it through some type of SIM tool. Then we can take action utilizing some other network access control tool, let's say, encapsulate that device where that anomaly came through and quarantine it for a period of time so we can then investigate it. Okay? So detection, protection, prevention. The prevention aspect is quarantining that device so it doesn't allow anything to go high, wider, and deeper. The fact that that one single endpoint might be compromised is not as big of an issue as the entire network being compromised. And that could be locally, could be nationally, regionally, globally, eventually. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. All right. Any other questions real quick in the room?
Yeah, there's a lot of emergence of Internet of Things and wearable technology.
Yeah.
How do you people get to identify them as anomaly or whether they're coming out from somebody trying to infiltrate the system?
Right. So that's a huge challenge for us today, and that is only getting more complicated because I think every single day there's some new type of wearable device. Like I'm on this Garmin right now. It's connected via Bluetooth to, my phone, my laptop. My phone's connected to the network. How is it connected to the network? What type of technologies do I have? It's a real challenge, and I'll tell you that I don't have a great answer for you other than we are treating all devices that are touching our customers' networks as potential points for a vulnerability to get in. And so if it's a Samsung device, an iPhone device, some other type of device out there, we are making sure and working with our customers to make sure that that device is looked at as an endpoint or as something that could potentially cause a breach. All right. Whether this Garmin is going to end up becoming a breach point, I don't know that today. Haven't seen that yet, but it very well may be. Somebody probably smart enough that could be solving cancer is going to figure that out. Could figure that out. Maybe that's a little extreme, but that's it. That's a big time challenge. Big time challenge. Of course, we're seeing, from an IoT perspective or a machine-to-machine perspective in the financial services space, we see a lot of ATM machines that are, connecting back to the corporate network. We're seeing, people trying to breach gas pumps at Sunoco and Mobile and things of that nature. So those are connected devices now, right? They're either connected individually to a platform or they're connected up to some type of satellite platform through Hughes or whatever they're using it on top of that gas station. So it's a big problem that we're certainly facing and trying to address. So one more maybe? Any more? Okay. So what I thought I'd do is I had some other slides here, but in interest of time, what I thought I'd do is I'd close, and then I'll stick around if anybody else has any other questions. I just want to leave you with a few things. Again, back to the simplification of this. Security is about being diligent, and it's about being consistent, and about making this a priority at the executive level. I sit on a number of boards here regionally, and I am constantly, as the IT guy in the room in many cases, the IT security guy in the room many times, fighting with my peers to make IT security a priority. And what I mean by that is reviewing it, understanding it, allocating funding properly to it, and then holding people accountable once we allocate that funding. All right? That is happening, certainly, but it needs to happen at all levels. And with the regulations that are occurring, these regulations are getting pushed down to second and third and fourth party organizations that are interfacing with these bigger clients that are forced to be compliant. So it's getting pushed down. It's going to hit us all, whether you're a small business or a large business. You're going to have to get compliant. If you start taking it serious now, you're going to be ahead of the game. You should assess your security maturity at least once a year. And there's a number of different models out there. Some people rank security maturity from 1 to 4. There's other models out there that have done it from 1 to 10. We use that 1 to 4 model where, you know, we're trying to assess somebody's security maturity. I see real honest, high-level enterprise organizations in this town assessing themselves at 1.2s, 1.4s, with a long way to go, and if they could get to a 3, they'd be happy. Just put that out there. You should be performing a gap analysis. If you haven't already, you should be doing that. A gap analysis is going to tell you, you know, what do I got to work on? And then once you have that information, you can start to pick away. Pick away. And don't, somebody talked about audits. It might have been Steve, might have been Rob talking about audits. I don't know. But audits usually find bad stuff. And it is what it is. Just accept the reality of the situation and move on with it, right? It's not a bad thing. People shouldn't be fired for having a bad audit. It's, especially when you're doing your first one. If you are, then you know, you don't want to be working there anyway, because that's not right. Okay? If you haven't implemented a security program, I think most in this room and on the live feed have, but you should implement one. A security program is different than a security policy. Program's programmatic, policy specific about how we're going to handle things, and you absolutely should know what you're going to do when an incident occurs. That's called an incident response plan. Everybody should know that as well. You should have one. You really should. Because when something happens, all heck is going to break loose. And it's at that point in time when you need to know exactly how you're going to handle it. Have good DR, business continuity planning in place, coupled with that incident response plan, and you're going to be a lot better off. It's not going to take you days and months to recover. Paying a Bitcoin ransom is not a good incident response plan. It's not. There's other ways to get around that. I mean, we've had the FBI tell healthcare organizations to pay the Bitcoin ransom because their medical records information system, you know, EMR platforms were down. Down. FBI can't deal with it, man. We got so many other things to worry about right now. Pay the ransom. It'll be a lot quicker. Because they didn't have a plan. They weren't ready for this. It's going to happen. If you know, just sit there idly, it's not good. So, last, you got to use this KISS methodology. Keep it simple, stupid. It's daunting. A lot going on there. I'm simplifying a very complex problem here, and I get it. But if you sit there and think about it, I've got a task, I got to hit this. Hit the low-hanging fruit, then get on to the more complicated things, get your programs in place, and then you can do it. You can do it. And work with an organization that can help you. You don't have to do it on your own. Quite honestly, you know, you should be working with organizations to do this. And I know it's funny, we kind of get laughing about this a lot. There's a lot of accounting firms out there right now and other firms that are trying to get into this whole space. And just like I wouldn't want me doing any of your books in accounting, I wouldn't want them doing my cybersecurity. So I think when you analyze that and look at that, there are some great organizations out there that are really good accounting and consulting firms, but they're not cybersecurity specialists. We're not the only one in town. You'll see one's doing that. There's other people that are out there doing it. Look to somebody who has some experience, and a lot of it. So with that, I will end my presentation. Thank you very much. I hope that at least you took away one thing from today. If you did, then that's a good day for me. All right, thank you very much. Is that okay? Get back on track a little bit?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
All right.
Did anybody have any questions, by the way, before Justin leaves? No?
Yeah, one more. So,
oh, you do have one.
Assuming all this press that's out there on the attacks from the presidential election to the FedExes, and is that helping you guys?
It's definitely not hurting.
Not convinced some of the C-level people to have a plan, or has it really not had an impact on your overall business?
I think in reality, I think some of us are becoming numb to that. I don't know if any of you are in the room are numb to it, but I hear it on a daily basis now, and I'm sort of becoming numb to it. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I am. I mean, these things are happening on a day-to-day basis. It is what it is. Oh, well, FedEx has gone down. They'll get it taken care of, and we'll be back up and going. It's kind of scary that we're at that stage of the game. Yeah. But You know, if somebody's firing a gun at you on a daily basis and you're dodging bullets left and right, you know, at some point in time, you might guess wrong which way to dodge. Yeah. And that's the problem. That's the problem right now. But I think it's creating an awareness, and it's a good thing. And it has been good for us from an organizational and a growth perspective, but it's creating an awareness down levels within organizations, and I think that's a great thing. Small to medium-sized businesses are noticing now. The enterprise organizations that we've worked with have noticed for a long, long time. They're still scrambling because they've got a lot. It's harder to move that ship. But small to medium-sized businesses can take care of this very, very quickly just by, you know, taking care of some low-hanging fruit. So it's a good question.
Good. Thanks.
So, yep, thank you.
Nice job.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Justin.
it.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, thank you.
Thank you. So to keep moving along with our presentations, I'm going to do a quick update on Finger Lakes for us at this point, and to just give you an update on where we're at with the acquisition with First Light, and any other questions that you guys might have, and then just to do a little bit of history. Again, some of you may know this, but if you know our history, we're actually a telephone company. So our family was purchased Ontario and Chermsburg Telephone Companies back in 1920, and then purchased Chermsburg Telephone Company in 1926. At this point, we're a 5-generation company. So my daughter, who is the little pregnant one out there, is she's married, and she's due in September. My son Brendan is here. He's a pre-sales engineer on the fiber side, so on the service provider side of the business. And then I have my cousin Mike is here too. I also have my wife. I have my niece. Did you need water for your tea? So we are still a family generation company that will continue even after the acquisition. We are still here, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, but there are no layoffs that are happening or anything like that when we go through this acquisition. They will keep, First Light will keep us as a center of excellence here in New York. They're based out of mostly in Albany at this point. Today we employ about 140 people, so that's grown dramatically in the last few years, constantly hiring. At this point, what we're looking at in the next probably year or so, an expansion to this building here. The building was designed on the other side to add another 15,000 square feet to the building. The parking lot that's the employee parking over here is actually a building pad. So if you notice, the property that's right next to us, lot number 2, is actually leased by us. That's why there's no buildings going on there at this point. The telcos, again, we service now 50 different cities. We started as an independent telephone company. We're in 6 small cities: Phelps, Clifton Springs, Chermsburg, Romulus, Interlake, and Ovid. So small little towns. We needed to grow or we were going to die, basically is what was going to happen. I took the companies over in 2005 and began to build the fiber out. And we now, the difference with Finger Lakes, we have that fiber local loop. So when we build to you as a commercial customer, we actually provide you a local loop all the way into your operational centers. And that's part of the difference of what we do when customers are on net with us. When you're on net with us too, you have access to the bunkers and other things like that too. So it just makes a very interesting situation for us because we have so much fiber out there today. I'll talk about the links. I'll show you some maps in a little bit. FLTG, again, was established in 1985 as a ISP. So we did dial-up modems back in the day is how it started. I was listening to a radio station this morning. They were doing the modem. Remember the modem sounds and trying to guess what that is? I'm like, oh my God, how old am I? And then we became a Cisco partner in 2000. We got into the Cisco business. That's all we sell is Cisco. But we did that for the phone systems. We used to sell Mitel and NEC. We wanted to go with a bigger generation phone company, phone system, which Cisco was just getting into it at the time. So it was a iffy thing for us too to step into that because they didn't have a lot of history in it. But we followed Cisco the whole way and it's paid off for us. We have over 100 different certifications in Cisco today. So we take tests all the time. We have training labs here when we hire people. If you're an engineer and you come here to interview, you have to go through a lab. If you don't pass that lab or you score the lab in different ways, we can tell whether you're actually a senior engineer, network engineer, or you don't know what you're doing. And we've actually literally had people come here that have worked in companies for 10 or 15 years and tell us that I've been working at Cisco forever, and we put them in the lab, which is a basic CCNA lab, and they can't pass the thing. They can't. We had one guy not be able to do a console cable. You know, where's a plug in? So, I mean, it gets that, you know, we don't want to waste money when we do hiring. So we started this back in 2001, doing this labbing, and it's amazing to watch. We also have a lab on the service provider side too. So if you're on the fiber side of the business too, you have to go through a lab in there also. And to move up in this company in engineering, you have to go through that lab to see if you actually know what you're talking about or not. So something we've done for a long time. In 2006, our telephone companies put in our next generation soft switch, which we still have today. We're going to start virtualizing that. And then we started the construction of the fiber in 2006, Cornell University being our first customer. So we worked with them for over a year to get this deal done. They're still our customer today, do all their long distance and fiber for them. We maintain all their cell networks for them on the campuses. But they helped us to really grow into the Ithaca area. And then from there we grew out. So now we have 2,500 miles. I remember the day that I first did this slide a long time ago, and we had like 100 miles of fiber, and we thought that was really cool. And it was one way, it was one strand. It didn't have a ring on it, but we have rings now. So we've taken care of that. Offices today are in Victor, Buffalo, Phelps, Romulus, Trumansburg, Binghamton. We have one in Sherburne now too, and one in Manulus too that we're going to open up. So we've got offices spreading out all over upstate New York. And the last item on there is the New York State Broadband Award. The reason I put that on there is we do not take money from the state to build out our fiber networks. We've built this whole entire network, $41 million worth of investment, with our own money. They gave us this award because we do it with our own money. They were actually so thrilled that they found somebody in New York that actually could build fiber networks and not have to use state money to do it. So that's how we got that innovation award. Then to go through some of the highlights, we talked about the 140 people, 7 offices now. Moved into this headquarters in 2013. So we're in a small office here in Victor and built this one. And then we have our Norwich office that we just opened up this spring. So that one's operational now. And then added we're up to about 18,000 access lines today. So as a phone company, we peaked at about 11,000 access lines. That had dropped to about 6,000 access lines. So we did, at the time as a traditional phone company, wall phones. That was our customers. And we were losing those dramatically to cell phones. So we had to do something. So we've actually grown much larger to that point. We talked about the 2,500 miles of fiber, the $41 million of investment that we've done that. And again, we're very proud to say we don't take state and federal money. And I'm not going to take any state money from the grants that are going out today. That is not how, you know, there's a cost to that. It's not free money. It's a loan to you. So we're able to do this with anchor customers. A lot of you guys are anchor customers, which we appreciate. Thank you. So we're happy that we can do this without that. Some of our builds today, 250-mile builds in 60 days. We do, which is huge. That is a build from Binghamton all the way to Syracuse. And that was a very dramatic through the mountains type build. But we completed that thing in 60 days. Delivered that to Verizon Wireless, was one of our customers on that. So we're very happy that we can move along with building technology out there in the field today. Light wave technology, so we use ROADM technology, one of the 2 in upstate New York that use ROADM technology with a fiber network that we have today. 50th partner in the country to offer hosted phone services from Cisco. So that's a very dramatic thing to say, that we're probably the smallest at this point, but we're one of 50 in the whole country that can do hosted phone services from Cisco. The other benefit to that thing, and the other cool thing about that, is our HCS is hosted in our bunkers down at the Sonic Army Depot. So you can talk to a lot of providers like that, but how many of them have them in a nuclear warhead bunker? And we don't know, quite frankly, half the time where Amazon and Google have theirs, but I know where mine is. So, and I have 64 of those bunkers that you'll see in a little bit. The certifications and specializations we've added this year are, again, dramatic for the service provider side for us, which we work very hard to get those certifications and keep those by taking tests all the time, and they're proctor tests. Fastest growing companies, private companies, get that again in 2017. We own the largest fiber network in upstate New York. And then again, top places to work. We pride ourselves in the fact that we have facilities like this for our employees to work here. But we've won the best place to work, and this is actually a little bit older now because we have New York State. We won that again in 2017, and then won another one for the top place to work here in Rochester too. So we're very happy about that. So if you look at Finger Lakes as a company, we're one provider. So where you may, not that I want to throw names out, but if it's Windstream or Frontier or something like that, you know, they're a service provider. Similar to us, not the fiber network that we have today, but what we bring to the table is more of the solution on the VAR side, so on the Cisco side of the business, where we can go into a customer and provide all of these services for our customer where you don't have just the telephone service provider and then you got to bring a Cisco partner to come in and do your work for us. We do both. And we're the only ones that I know of in New York that can actually do both and that own a network. The benefit that you'll see in a couple of minutes when I show you the new fiber map is our network went from 2,500 miles to 15,000 miles of fiber network now, with about 555,000 fiber miles of that. So it's all the fibers inside the sheath. So we've just expanded our growth and our expansion across into 5 states now. But these are the different things that we can do for you on a regular basis. If you have not done a tour, we're going to do a tour of the buildings too if you'd like to do that, and also our network operations center if you want to see that fully functional center. Certification-wise, I mentioned this earlier, I'm on the National Cisco Council, so at CCAB, I've been on that for 8 years now. That is 40 of us in the country that sit on this, and this is a policy-making council that we sit on. Chuck Robbins, who is now president, I've known for years because I used to be on that council with him, and now he's president of Cisco. On the Eastern Regional, the small market, mid-market, and then we're the go-to partner for Rochester, Syracuse, and Buffalo, and this will end up being part of New England too as we grow into that area. And then the collaboration partner of the East, and then New York State Contract Services, and the Cisco Center of Excellence. So again, pride ourselves in the Cisco certification world. On the network assessment, so Rob talked a little bit about this. We go through, and we learned this a long time ago, to do full network assessment. So people offer that as a free service. They come in, again, trying to get you to buy something from them. We actually charge, because we charge for our engineering services that we have. We learned a long time ago that some people buy our network services just for the assessment. Maybe they don't want us to install it or they don't want to buy the equipment from us, but they'll love our engineering services. So we started this a long time ago, doing assessment services for people. We still today charge you. In the end, we don't give you credit on the back end because we're an engineering company. We have to pay for our employees and you're going to pay for expertise that we have, but we also know that your network's going to work. And you'll see some of our customers that we have today, but we pride ourselves in the routing, switching, wireless telephone systems. That's our world. Not really a Microsoft shop. We're not PC shops. That's not what we do. So collaboration, you're going to see this today. We're going to talk more about this, but it is all coming together as one. I think for us, what we're excited about is Finger Lakes being a service provider and the equipment provider at the same time. We can bring both technologies together, same engineering staff, again, to make these products work. And I mentioned this before with the value proposition. Again, it's one hand to shake during this whole thing when you go through this, down to the billing. So remember, we're a phone company, so we actually do the billing services too. So when you get a phone bill, you get it from us. You don't get it from someone else. It actually comes from us. Again, subscription services, instead of those annual capital expenses now, we can change that, do that on a monthly basis for you. And again, the services that we have is comprehensive. So talking about our regional fiber network, again, people ask us this question all the time about, do you have your own people? We have our own trucks, fiber splicing trailers. You're going to see our line trucks out here. We actually have a pole set up out there that's in the ground. You'll actually see our guys climbing that pole out there if you want to try to climb. No, it's a little dangerous. But you'll see our guys out there, professional climbers out there, and they are professional climbers. They're taught. We actually have a professional climbing instructor on staff, so we give classes in this too, because it's critical, and people don't think you still climb poles, and you do climb poles. When you're in right-of-ways out in the middle of a field and you can't get a truck out there, you can't get a bucket truck, you got to climb poles. So you'll see some of these guys doing that for us today. You'll see the fiber splicing trailer out there too. You can go in there and splice fiber and see what that technology looks like today. So we do have these people, same picture we have over there, but that is all of us and myself up on top of the bunker there, and we're going to talk about the bunkers a little bit too. This was our map before. So I would say up until a couple of months ago, 2,500 miles, so all the way to Buffalo, down to Binghamton, 50 different cities that we service today. We have the Seneca Army Depot in the middle right here with all the bunkers in it. But you see, we go into rural America. That's the market we love, is rural America. So very small towns, places that people don't want to follow us, Spectrum or Windstream. They don't want to go in some of these small towns. We do. We take that map, and this is what it looks like today. So we're now going to be, as I said, about 15,000 miles of fiber, 78 cities now that we're going to be in. The big difference now is New England. So all the way into Bangor, Maine, Boston, New York City, and all those areas in Burlington. So that's how our network's going to expand. across this next year. So in August will be when we do the acquisition, when the whole deal closes. The delay, actually sort of a delay, two things, one interesting thing, but two things. PSC, the Public Service Commission, has to approve the fact that we do this merger together. The big thing is the FCC. The FCC has to make sure there is no foreign money being spent to buy the fiber networks. So it's important for Homeland Security to know that there are no foreign countries trying to buy networks in New York, because if you look at this crosses all of New York State into New England now. So it's a major network now that you could have foreign money in and control on that. So that's the delay right now that we're waiting for. So that's why that takes a couple more months to have that clarified, to make sure there is no money coming from foreign countries. As part of the acquisition, some of the things that we're talking about is the infusion of cash. So for us, we raise, we use our own money to do this every year. We spend, on average, probably about $10 million a year in capital to build fiber out there. Then we have to run our operations and do other work too. So we'll have this nice infusion of cash. Looks like probably maybe around $30 million of investment around here to build more fiber and to build it out even farther into different cities. So we can acquire and look at more CLECs out there, and also look at acquire other partners. So we're doing that actively now, where we're talking to different partners, different CLECs in New York State about joining forces with us and making the company even bigger. The portfolio from Oak Hill Capital Partners, the company that's buying us, about $9 billion. They not only buy telephone companies, but they buy cheeseburger, Checkers and Burger Kings, and it's all over the place in what they do. They focused a lot of the money now into buying telephone operations like ours in New England and New York right now, and then we'll see where it goes. We're thinking Pennsylvania and south into the other locations, but very nice company to work for at this point. We talked about the fiber miles, which will go up to about 555,000 miles of fiber. Today, First Light has 10 data centers. We're going to add our 64 bunkers to this. So you'll see those in a couple of minutes, what we're doing down there. And then the other great thing, I think, for us as a company, Finger Lakes, First Light does not sell Cisco equipment. So that's the one thing I'm doing. I'm president of that division now, to actually sell Cisco products to all their existing customers. So it could be Albany Med, it could be the University of Maine, something like that, that they've sold fiber equipment to or fiber optics connectivity to. Now we can sell Cisco equipment to them. So we're excited about that, to do the expansion with them. These are a few of the customers that we have out there today. Really started in the banking. Generations Bank actually was one of our first ones that we did back in the day. So we have been in the banking business for a very long time. It was a great customer. They have multiple locations. That's how we liked banks. And then we got into more of the enterprise customers. Wegmans, for instance, we do all their stores, the routing, switching, wireless telephone systems for all their grocery stores. And now we're doing fiber connectivity also to those stores. So it's interesting how, again, here's a customer buying both products from us all the time. Verizon Wireless, another one you see on there, that is physical fiber builds to their cell towers out in the rural communities. So for instance, for us to try to get into Corning or Elmira, that's one way that we get in there, because we're putting fiber to those cell towers at that time. And then if we look at the fiber customers that we have, again, we break those into verticals. So you'll notice the most common, from universities to hospitals, you'll see a lot of the rural hospitals and universities out there that we're connecting. Colgate's going to be one of our newer ones that will come online with us now. Again, Colgate now has access to our fiber network because we built down in the Sherburne area and down the southern tier for Verizon. So now we can offer services to that university now. Seneca Army Depot. If you've never been there, we give tours. They're free tours. But we have our location here, 800 acres around the triple fence at this point, 64 nuclear warhead bunkers in here, our guardhouse, and then our warehouses back here. The interesting thing, this is 10,000 acres of property. The Echo that you see up there, number 9, that's actually where they kept the plutonium for the Manhattan Project. So that is one bunker we do not go to. That's why we look at that, because we don't get near that plutonium that was in there. So we obtained this property in 2007, and now we're creating data centers and paper record storage in this area. So triple fences when you come in, and again, think about where you have your co-location facilities today. Most of them you can walk right up to the building, touch the outside of the building, you see the building, you know where it is. Here, triple fences, guardhouses, leaded doors, bulletproof glass. then you have to go find the bunkers. Then you have to go find the right bunker when you're out there looking for the bunkers. This is the front half of the operation, and remember we have 800 acres, you have to go find where that location is. Everything is buried there. We do have aerial and buried there, so you can't tell where it is. The next look at some of our customers are now asking for is to actually hide all generators, backups for everything, so you can't tell what's being generated and which one is your bunker, which one's not. That can be done with natural gas and micro turbines that we're looking at now to generate power down here instead. And everything then can be hidden inside bunkers and underground. You'll never be able to tell what's going on down there at all after the grass grows, as you'll see how it used to look. So before and after, when we got the property in May of 2007, that same year in August, we started the renovations. So we had that ribbon cutting. We had at the time, Senator Zolio was one of our benefactors, gave us a check to start with to start the renovation down at this location. This is inside the guardhouse. So this is what we walked into. Turned the power off, the water turned off, paint was peeling off. It was horrible inside. So we had to rip it all apart, and then you'll see on the right-hand side there what it looks like today. Everything's been reconditioned again. Bulletproof glass, we have a sample down there to show you what bulletproof glass looks like from back in the day. Very, very extremely thick glass that we have on display down there for you to look at. And then the bunkers. This bunker, 2,000 square feet double doored. That bunker right there next to it, 1,600 square feet single door. 4-foot thick concrete, 3 to 13 feet of concrete into the ground. Again, remember you had warheads in here, so if they blew up, they want to contain everything inside the bunker if it went off. So it's a really great facility for us to use down there. This is what the bunkers look like now. Again, we have our fiber network connected to it. These are before and after pictures, so this is the day that I signed the contract to take over. Still was wondering at that time why I wanted to mow 800 acres of land. So that's why I had a son, Brendan, who mowed a lot, and just kidding. You're supposed to laugh at that, but that's okay. So you see the before and after pictures again. So what we do today is we do mow around most of the bunkers, but we mow the sides of the roads, and we do that for the deer and the birds. So the DEC has asked us to make sure that we can keep it as trimmed as we possibly can so that the environment can still continue to grow down there. We have the largest herd of white deer down there, so they're recessive gene, they're brown-eyed deer, not red-eyed deer. So we still have deer and white deer inside our facility. We have about probably 25 white deer inside ours and a lot of brown deer, brown and white-tailed deer inside there. There's turkeys, osprey, you know, it's like Jurassic Park down here when you're walking around down here. And you can see too what we had to go through with the amount of some rust on the iron cages and things like that we had to do. So we've gone through and sandblasted and repainted and reconditioned everything again now, which didn't take that much time to do. It was mostly paint. The concrete blocks you see on the other side, forklift holes in there, and they used to pick those up and they would sit in front of these iron doors. So they would go inside those cages and put it in front. So they had physical and electronic security inside here. But again, the steel cages, when they're shut on the outside, these cages here can withstand a shoulder-mounted missile. So they would try to make this impenetrable to people. But it was interesting when we found out they actually put concrete to slow you down too. Someone's got to move that. And if you didn't bring enough people, can you move that concrete block? Inside, we have now reconditioned everything inside. So we spent this last year, we did a $500,000 upgrade, both in power in there and air conditioning inside the bunkers today. And Rob's a great customer down there with us. This is one of our first bunkers we did. This is almost full now. I think we only have a couple racks at this point inside, so we'll start to work on the next bunker. So we've really learned how to penetrate the walls now, to put cables through it, tile the floor. We had to lift this floor by 7 inches on both sides because it was crowned. So back in the day, there were drains on the side. We had to take those out and flatten the floor so we could get the racks inside there. We also don't penetrate we penetrate floors and not ceiling, so it's a trellis system inside. As much as we don't touch that ceiling, even though it's so thick, we don't want to put any holes into the ceiling for any kind of leaks inside. Epoxy paint is in the inside of that thing, again, to seal it down in case anything happens inside. But now, today, stays cool, got inline air conditioning racks in there. Works really well for us. We've figured this all out. It's not one of those things you find a consultant that says, can you help us build a data center inside a bunker? And you don't have those people growing a tree knowing how to cool a bunker, because it does retain the heat. Paper record storage. So again, one of our customers came to us and said, we need to move our paper record storage. So this is not Iron Mountain. This is to store it in. Every 7 years, there's a rotation of paper comes out and it gets shredded. So this is what we did for that customer. Put steel doors in now and framed it a little bit more to seal it inside. And now we can stay at about 55% relative humidity at 52 degrees year round inside this. Current floor, we didn't have to do anything but paint it. And then the dehumidification control on the top there, original lighting that was inside there. And this basically is what it looks like today. So the customer chose the racking, chose how they're gonna do the boxes. This is their setup, how they wanted to do it. We provided the shell of it, and then they put everything else in the inside. So we have a few different customers. We actually have a medical record company that's paper records inside one of the bunkers there. And then we have electronic records too. So we have both going on down there at all times. So very interesting, different twist to the whole thing. But when you walk into this, there's no air conditioning in this thing, but this is cold inside. I mean, it's 42 to 52 degrees year round. It could be 95 to 100 degrees outside and it's still cold inside. And same way in the winter too. It still stays at that 42 to 52 degrees because of the ground on top. And then the other important thing is the SOC 2 compliancy. So it took us 2 years. We're the first ones in upstate New York to receive SOC 2 compliancy in a data center. So this used to be SAS 70 back in the day. This is the new compliancy. And we are both type 1 and type 2 and also HIPAA compliant at this facility. So if there's anything that you guys want to look at or come down and visit, we already have the compliancies to be down there, customer references, and the fibers there today. And if you are on the fiber, then you are, in essence, connected to that network down at the Sonic Army Depot. And that's it. Any questions anybody has? Because it's between me, you, and lunch. So, and I know you want to talk to me more. So, but let me, what we're going to do now, which should be fun, we're going outside. It's actually nice out. It's not raining. So it's actually pretty nice out there. And we've got a couple different food trucks out there as soon as I find my notes. But we've got a meatball truck and we've got the cheese truck out there for you guys to go out and visit with. And somewhere in here. Well, anyways, it's on here. So what we're going to do now is, do we go out? We're going to go out through those doors. So again, we've got food trucks out there. There's food inside here in the cafe, bathrooms, and we'll be back here, I think about 1:15 is what time we'll be back after lunch. Okay? Thank you. I've always wanted to say that. So thank you. Did you guys enjoy lunch? Yeah. Is it good? So there's more, obviously, too, if you need to sneak out to grab any more. But thank you again for the first half of what we've done this morning. This afternoon, have a lot more interesting information about the Sparkboard security. But before we do that, we do have another gift. This is the new Sound Link. So a little bit cooler thing. And the people that are online, you got to come here to win. So. Oops. Oh, that was a good winner, too. I don't know what that was. Oh, John King. There he is. Listen to music, think of me.
All right.
All right. So next up, we have Sales. Sales with Cisco. And he's going to go through a demonstration with a smartboard today for us, right? Yep. So he will go through that. So if you could give a warm welcome to Sales.
Let's get this guy here. So I just got to switch a couple things over real quick because I'm using my computer to show off the demo. Take a second. So while I'm setting this up, has anyone ever heard of Spark before? Yes. Couple? Okay. And I guess everybody downloaded the app or something too yesterday? Beautiful. So I'm going to talk about Spark and collaboration. I know this is security related, this summit that you guys are taking part in here, so I'll try to relate some of it back to security as much as I possibly can. Spark is 100% secure, but really it's about collaboration and how we can make teams and people work better with yourselves, customers, individuals work better together as well. So take you guys through here real quick. What Cisco did, and Cisco's been in the collaboration business for the past 15 years. We acquired Celsius back in 1999. That was kind of our first foray into it. When we acquired them, they were one of the first voice over IP companies. And everyone looked at us like, Cisco, what are you doing? You know, TDM and these legacy Avaya and Nortel phone systems out here, that's what people are going with. They're not going with these IP systems. And we saw the future. We saw that everything was going to ride over Ethernet and over IP. And I think, you know, we've proven that. There's all these other technologies that are coming over IP these days too. All the smart devices, all the wearables out there, even building systems that were previously these archaic networks with serial and everything, everything's coming over IP. So over the past 15 years, we've really been acquiring different companies and we've been bringing everything onto one seamless network. And we've been trying to make it simple. And when I say simple, we want it to be easy for everybody to use, whether you're at your desk, whether you're on the go, or whether you're in a conference room. No matter where you are, you should be able to do your job to 100%. Have all the resources available to you, work how you want to work. You know, it's no longer I have to be at my desk and using this hard phone for me to be productive, me to get my calls, and me to do anything. I could do that wherever I want to go. So that's kind of what I'm going to show you guys here. And what Spark allows us to do is take collaboration really outside of my organization. You know, Cisco's been an on-premise company for a really long time, and then this thing, the cloud, came out, and everyone's like, oh, I got to move to cloud. And then there's people who don't even understand cloud. They're like, we just have to go to cloud. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know. My CEO says we have to move to cloud. Okay. So Cisco has cloud. And what Spark is Cisco's cloud, basically. And there's different products underneath the Spark cloud. So we have the Spark messaging client, which I think what everybody went out and downloaded kind of last night. And inside of there, there's some voice over IP calling capabilities built in. There's video capabilities built into it too. But that's kind of the main product here is the messaging product that we'll go over in a little bit here. Then there's meetings. So how do I do things like video conferencing in a boardroom or in a meeting room? How do I bring things like a digital whiteboard set up like this into that room and collaborate efficiently with everything? And I'll just talk about that. And then the last piece here is calling. So yes, Cisco now does have a hosted collaboration offering for phones. It's not for every organization. It's really starting smaller, maybe mid-market, 100 phones or less. I don't have to put a PBX system in place anymore. I can just do a couple phones on the desk and we'll route out to Cisco's cloud and Cisco will take care of it out to the PSTN. Mid-sized organizations, large organizations, you're still going to want either an on-premise system or an offering like FLTG has with their hosted HCS offering because that's the thing that's really going to scale. That's the thing that has all the features. We're still kind of in the infancy of the phone system arena here, but it is available. And if you don't need a lot of features, we can make it work. So I figured I'd bring this up because I get a lot of questions around what's the difference between Spark instant messaging and like a Link instant messaging or a Skype instant messaging or a Jabber instant messaging. Any of you guys had that question when you started looking at it? Right? I get it all the time. And it's kind of this shift, we've all lived through the 90s. We all probably had AOL at one point in time. I didn't remember AOL Instant Messenger when you're IMing with a person. Remember how painful that was? I had to be at my desk. Then if not, I had to put an away message up. And if someone wanted to send me a file on that, I had to be there sitting at my computer waiting for that file to come through. That's what Link and Skype and Jabber are. They're AOL Instant Messenger, basically. And who here still uses AOL Instant Messenger in your personal life? Nobody? I didn't think so. So what do we all use today? We use things like Facebook Chat, maybe HipChat. There's all these other applications that we're using to instant message with each other. And the benefits of those are I don't have to be tied to my computer with that client open. If someone sends me a message in Facebook, I get a ring on my phone, I look into the thing, and it's there. I go to my computer, it's there. Someone at the other end actually sees that I saw that. If someone wants to send me a file, they can send me a file. I don't have to be in front of my computer, hit accept. It's just stored as part of that conversation, and I can access it anywhere. If I get an instant message, it's not just on this device. With Facebook, I can go to my computer if I wanted to. I can go to my mobile phone. I can read all the history of that conversation I had with that person, whenever I had it on whatever device I had it on, and I can read it on some other device over here. It doesn't matter anymore. And that's kind of the big difference with what instant messaging is and what we're calling now enterprise messaging. It's kind of making the shift from the old archaic instant messaging clients, AOL Instant Messenger, to kind of the new stuff that's out there. And there's a lot more that's coming into here, especially around team collaboration and how I collaborate in large groups. You know, the one-on-one instant message sessions never really had anything great when it came to group chat. That's all built into Spark. And then for meetings here, I like to show this slide. I don't know if any of you guys took a psychology class back in college or back in high school, but you know, one of the things they always kind of told us is you're only going to remember about 20% of what you hear. So when you start thinking about meetings and you start thinking about collaboration, 90% of the time people still only do audio type meetings, right? They get a PIN code from AT&T or something, or they're using some sort of audio bridging service. And how effective are those? You know, people come in and out, people get dropped all the time. You're only going to retain about 20% of what you hear based on studies like this. So if we can drive down to maybe participating in discussion, watching an exhibit, doing things like video, simulating doing the real thing, I could start getting about 70 to 90% knowledge retention. So if I can put like a whiteboard in a room and have people remote, be on video, and collaborate with me, now I have them participating in a discussion, we're going to get at least 70% knowledge retention versus the old school way of doing it with just an audio conference. And we've made doing this all a lot easier. So we've made it so it can be just an audio conference, but there's all these other things in the background. So you schedule it like you normally would, but I have additional capabilities. So if you look at what I typically walk into, and most of my customers, this is what they had. They try to do that. They understand the learning pyramid. They understand, yep, if we can do some of that stuff, we're going to get much more knowledge retention. Our employees are going to be much more productive. But how are they accomplishing it? Well, what they did was they went out a couple years ago, 10 years ago, they bought some sort of video unit. Maybe it was an old Polycom or a Life Size or something they threw in the corner. No one really knows how to use that. It was really confusing when it came out. Had to dial IP addresses. Anybody outside of IT had no idea what an IP address was. We've got our Starfish phone on the table because that's what was linked to my phone system. I've got a computer over here because I need to do WebEx or GoToMeeting or something like that, so that's in the room. Speakers, I don't know, some guy had some extra speakers laying around. We said, oh yeah, let's hook those up to this here. I've got the projector in the room because that's how we present when we're local in the room. And you know, I'm coming in for a meeting, and I'm like, well, I don't know how to use any of this stuff, so I throw my iPhone in the middle of the table and I use that instead. Happened to any of you guys before? Or they call IT and say, IT, make this room work, right? And then what's even worse is I've got remote people, and I might have all this great stuff in here, but how does this guy interact with me? What if I do want to use video? Well, he doesn't have video. He's only got his iPhone on him, and he's driving in the car. So that's not going to work either. So what Cisco did with Spark and with our whole collaboration story is we consolidated audio conferencing, video conferencing, and web conferencing down to just conferencing and conferencing with Spark. So when I schedule a conference, I don't say, hey, I need to schedule an audio conference. I don't say, hey, I need to schedule a video conference or a web conference. It's just one meeting that I schedule. And inside that invitation, inside of Outlook, I'll have an audio dial-in number. So if somebody's locked up in a barn somewhere and they don't have access to the internet and they still want to dial in old school, they can. I'll have a video SIP URI dial-in or a video callback so they could join via video unit if they're in front of one. And I'll have the WebEx web conferencing link that they click on, and they're in the web conferencing situation like that. And then again, these boards will all tie into that as well. So I don't have to really pick anymore, well, what do I want to do? This is going to be audio only, or I need to get Jerry's personal conference bridge, and you know that stuff's a mess to manage, and never really collaboration works with that. So if you take a look at what Cisco did to kind of reinvent the conference room around that, because I don't need all those devices in there anymore. I only need one device because that's the best device that's available, and that's what I want to use. Cisco came out with our new video conferencing devices that have a nice touch panel here. Everything is completely integrated in. I have my speakers built in directly at the top here. I've got my video cameras built in, and the Spark board is built on the same premise as well. There's a 4K camera right here. I've got 12 microphones along the top here, and I've got my speakers built in. There's no sense of things like inputs with these. You know, the guy's like sees the remote on the table. I've got one of these in my house. I'm going to turn it to input 3 and jack my computer into the side. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff because it's all Cisco controlled. So I'll take you guys through a scenario here. I walk into the room, I've got my laptop with me. I want to present. There's maybe 5 or 10 of us around the table. I don't have to find the HDMI cable and plug in. Using the Spark client, I can actually mirror my computer directly up to this. And that's it. We're just doing local. Then later on throughout the day, maybe it's around lunchtime, I want to call a pizza shop down the street. This is nothing more than a phone. I can grab the touch panel and I could dial Domino's Pizza down the road. So right there, I've got rid of already a couple devices in the room. I don't need the Starfish phone on the table anymore because I'm using this as my phone. I don't need to have this whole projection system and this cable of dongles that's running on the table. I'm just wirelessly presenting to this. You can still do an HDMI cable if you wanted to, but you really don't need to. My speakers are built in to the top here. Microphones on the larger units, they have a microphone mixer built in. So if anyone's ever using Crestron or Extron or all those systems to integrate that together, you don't have to do any of that anymore because we've built it all into our video conferencing systems. I call it a conference room in a box because you can literally take these things out of the box, set them up. The smaller units, I set them up in less than 5 minutes. The larger units, something like that, might take an hour or so. But that's it. You're done. And it's all Cisco controlled and it's all corporate controlled. So to give you guys an idea of these kind of all-in-one devices and what we can do, we've got dual 70-inch screen ones, we've got single 70-inch screen, dual 55s, single 55, single 42. We've got the Spark boards, which I'll go into in a minute here, and then some smaller DX80, DX70 personal video type devices that can go on somebody's desk and they can use this as their PC monitor. Then I always get the question too, like, well, we already have a TV. We just went out, we just bought a Samsung 84-inch TV or a Sharp or an LG or something, or we need something bigger than a 70. I need to go to a projector because it's in a huge auditorium. What do I do? So we can Cisco enable those. We have our own codecs for medium-sized rooms. We've got the Room Kit and the Room Kit Plus that still has a speaker and everything built in and the cameras built in. And now I take control of that TV or that projector that's in the room. And then for the larger rooms, I've got things like the SX80, which have tons of microphone inputs and outputs, and I can still tie into those Crestron systems if I needed to. Larger cameras, 20x optical zoom with digital zoom on top of it. And we can get as crazy as you want. We've done huge auditoriums with 200-300 people sitting in them and still do video conferencing effectively with that. See what I'm doing on time. Okay. The room kits, the reason I brought these up is because some of the other ones we've had out for a little while. These are brand new, these two we just released. So if you haven't had an update on Cisco Video in a little while, these are probably the newest ones for you guys. The Room Kit and the Room Kit Plus, this one has the codec actually built into it. And it's a single camera, and it does do what's called speaker track. So in a room like this one camera would digitally look at the entire room, and it's a 5K camera. But based on who's talking, it'll zoom in on that person. So it'll digitally zoom in on that person and send just that frame across of where that person is talking or where those groups of people are sitting. So in a room like this, I don't see all the other kind of nonsense going on this side, especially if the side of the room is empty, because that's not a really good video experience for the other side. So we take care of all the video production. Kind of like, we've got the team in the back of the room here today, moving the cameras around, because this is a really nice setup that they've done. But, you're probably not going to have that type of setup in your guys' rooms. What most people do is they put a camera in the front of the room and they zoom all the way out, and I see this big bowling alley effect. With these cameras that we've got in these kits, they'll digitally do what's called speaker track and find that person and zoom in on that person for you. This one is meant for a little bit of a larger room. It's got 3 long throw cameras and breaks the room up into 3 quadrants or sectors, whatever you want to call it. And then it's got the one larger view that kind of takes a look at the entire room to figure out who's going to be talking next. And it's just kind of cool on the diagnostic screen here. So it'll actually show, if you're in diagnostic mode, it points out all the faces. It can recognize all these faces. We're using an NVIDIA chipset to do this. And in phase 2 of this, we're going to actually be able to say, hey, that's Sarah, that's John, that's Mike. Right in the back, we're going to be able to put a little name tag on them just via facial recognition. So that's really cool. There's a YouTube video on that showing it. And then what this is showing here with this white box around it, because maybe this woman is talking here, this is what the far side's going to see. It's not going to see this entire room because no one over here is really interacting. it would just be this person talking or maybe that guy talking. So we're going to shoot this box across to everybody else. And we do have some recommendations on screens if you're going to try to build this yourself. Cisco sells LG screens now. We OEM them or resell them. And then this is my favorite thing, what we've done with video collaboration, is one button to press. Everyone uses Outlook here. Everyone familiar with Outlook? I go into Outlook, I schedule my meeting just like I normally would, and in that to field, instead of putting John Smith in there, or maybe I put John Smith in there, I also add in the room, the FLTG conference room 3. That's tied to the video unit in the room. I walk into the room, there's no IP addresses to dial, there's no SIP URIs to even dial. I just have big green button, press. Okay, we're connected, that's it. And then the Spark board here. So we want to try and take things kind of a step further with that. The typical way of doing whiteboarding is to have a whiteboard in the back, and I've got a camera in the front. We shine it on there, and we draw. It's okay of an experience for the far side, but no one can interact. And depending on what the far side is using, sometimes it's hard to see the markers, and things dry out. And it's never the best of an experience when you're doing whiteboarding on video. So that's what the Spark board was meant for, really room collaboration with whiteboarding. And I talked about a lot of the features in here already, but along the top, so I've got 12 beamforming microphones on here. So what that allows us to do is in a medium-sized room, I don't have to have microphones along the table. These mics will triangulate where that person is that's actually speaking and amplify just that person's voice and then block out any background noise. Oh, I don't know what happened to the slides. There we go. All right. And then I'll do a demo on this in a second so we can show off more of that. But I do want to mention this, some of the stuff that we've been working with Apple on. And this feature you can actually do with an Android phone as well. But a lot of times too, maybe you're in a conference room, you start a call in a conference room, and you need to leave. So what we've done is if you've got the Spark app running, you can open up the Spark app, take the call that's going on this board or this video device, drag it to your phone and walk out. And you can leave this up still doing video or audio conferencing. And I could do it in the reverse way too. If I get a call on my phone, and let's say I'm in the car, and I walk into the office and I've got a really nice video endpoint here, a lot of times you're stuck on your phone going like this when you've got all this great technology in the room. I can flick the call up and send the call to this video device. Yeah?
I'm thinking about education. I know for conferencing it's quite good, and also maybe if somebody wants to input something from video or slide presentation, is there any way by which you can incorporate those?
The slides?
Slide or video from external devices.
Yeah, so what we've seen a lot in the education department is they're using like the Spark app, and they create a space or a room inside of there, and the teachers will do it for each class that they have, an individual space, and the teacher will upload like PowerPoint presentations, Word documents, or the kids will do it. And I'll show you, I can open up that entire space on this whiteboard here. So as a teacher, I'm in here, and I'll have a files tab. I can go in there and I can view all the files for that room. Okay. So I'll probably jump into the demo on that next because we're kind of running out of time. And then just real quick here, the calling aspect of this. These phones work across everything Cisco has, so whether it's on-premise, the HCS offering that FLTG has, or on Spark. The one thing you'll notice, everything has video these days. We don't decipher between a video device anymore or a phone device anymore. They're pretty much all video devices. We don't even have a separate video system. It's just collaboration with Cisco, and you get everything. So the DX80, DX70, smaller personal devices, pop them on your desk. Great for video conferencing, great for telephones, whatever you guys want to do with them. The 8800, this is probably my favorite phone, the 8845. 720p camera, 720p screen on it. It's got Bluetooth technology, so I can walk into my office. My phone syncs directly up to this. If someone calls my cell phone, I can pick it up over here. It's just like walking into your car in the morning when your Bluetooth pairs with your car, and you could talk with those speakers. Now I can talk directly through my phone here. So I can leave my phone in my pocket. Women like to leave their phones in their purse, and I can use this. I could even press line 2 and make a call out via my cell phone if I wanted to. And then we still have the You know, I kind of joke around sometimes the old school black and white phones because this is it. It's all we got left from those. When I started at Cisco 10 years ago, this is all we had. And we had ones with 10,000 different lines on them and all these crazy things, and that's it. Even our handheld one doesn't have a black and white screen anymore. Even that's still color. But there's still a place for these. You know, I might have a warehouse that, you know, these cost a little bit more, maybe another $50, $100 more. If I've got a warehouse, phone's gonna get crushed. Okay, well, here's an $80 black and white phone. Put it on the warehouse. And then the last thing I'll mention here is what we're doing. So sometimes it makes sense to go cloud. Sometimes it makes sense to go on-premise. And the good thing about Cisco is we allow you to do one or the other or both. You might need an on-premise phone system just for some features or just the way that you guys operate your business. But in remote offices, does it make sense to put gear out there? Probably not. We can have everything tied to Cisco Spark Cloud or maybe like an HCS offering and tie that back to what you guys have on-premise. And you're still managing it as one full system. All right. And we'll skip over this. And that's it. So before I jump into that, you guys have any questions? Anything you want to ask?
Would it be available to anybody that want to use this service or the product to download like WebEx and other technology?
To be a participant, yes. So Spark is free for everybody.
Just can you repeat the question just so the audience can hear because they're not picking up
Okay.
the question.
So the question was, is this application free for outside people that aren't part of your organization? So the answer is yes. Anybody, just like you guys went out and downloaded Spark last night and started using it, anybody can go out and get a free account. And you know what? You get access to pretty much everything. The stuff that you don't get is things like corporate control. Well, I want to have all my users tied in via Active Directory, and I want to have a single function search box for everybody to go into. You know, for that, we need to start being a paid user because I need to Active Directory control it all and corporate control it all. Or things like meetings. You know, if I want to have a 25-person video conference, that's a paid service as part of Spark. But if I want to do one-on-one instant messaging, if I want to be able to create rooms, if I want to be able to join Cisco's room and have them do the video meetings and everything, absolutely. Yep. And then, you know, WebEx for the remote participants has always kind of been like that. You click the link, you download a plugin if you need the plugin anymore, and off and away you go.
I see the selling point in this better than any other application. The fact that you can download the video or slide presentation, I think that is going to outsell most of the applications I've seen.
Yeah.
So that's the good thing about it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool the way that they set it up. I've never seen anything like that. I was pretty excited when they released it.
I made a recommendation about the others. I have not read something about the Spark, which I'm going to change as soon as I go home. And I think it's a very good product.
Thank you. All right, I think I got about 5 left. Can we share my desktop still? Is it possible? I don't know who I'm talking to. There we go. Okay, so you guys have all downloaded Spark. You kind of know what the Spark interface looks like. So what I'll show you guys.
I downloaded it in my laptop, but I'm having problem loading it on my phone.
Okay, we'll help you out with that after. So the way the Spark is broken out, I've got my people. Here's my one-on-one instant messages back and forth up here. And then I've got my groups or my rooms down below here. And I can also create teams. And one of the teams that I created here is product design. So I'm at a company. We have a bunch of different products that we work on. And, you know, we're working on this body bumpers project. I'm working on a toy flamethrower gun project over here. We've got some lawn darts over here that I'm working on. And we need to collaborate around these, right? Because we're having issues. There's safety hazards. So I'm in the room here for, let's say, body bumpers. And you'll see at the top right here, there's that waffle. I call it a waffle. I don't really know what it is. It's a ball of some sort. And here's all the things that allow me to collaborate in this room. Can we move that video window to the left or minimize it? There we go. So we've got the messages going back and forth that you guys have seen, calls, so I could actually have a video call go on inside of this room. And what happens is all the people that I have listed in this room here get a call, and there's a video conference that takes place inside of this room. And if I miss the call, I could always come into my Spark client, click join, and now I'm joined in the video conference that's going on in the room. I have my whiteboards there, and I have my files. So I could go ahead and upload files related to this project right inside the room here. And then, you know, this is great for my mobile collaboration, but let's say I want to go to my Spark board that I have over here. So what I'm going to do, and I guess we can switch over to video again. There we go. Can we switch over? Are we on the video, the WebEx? Good? Okay. So I've opened up, just like I had on my computer, on my phone here, I've got my different teams. I'm going to go into product design. I'm going to go into body bumpers. Hit that activity ball at the top there again, and now I can open up that room that was on my computer onto the Spark board. So all that stuff I just had in that room, the files, all my files are loaded here. So maybe I had a PowerPoint that we were going to go over. The PowerPoint loads in the room for that class or whatever it is. I've got my slides on the right side that I can jump around to. We can do, you know, cool gestures like, yep, this is where we need to pay attention to, type stuff. I can exit out of this. We could do video. I hit that, and again, that video takes place inside of that room there. I can go into a whiteboard. And we'll go to, this one looks good. Now, something else we were working on here, and I can start to draw. And the one thing I'll show you, if I can get this open, this might be hard to see here, but I'm going to have on my phone too this room open. So let's say I'll be blue, and I'm going to draw with my thumb on this. And you guys can see in real time, we're sharing this whiteboard. It's not, I draw the line, 2 or 3 seconds later it comes up. It's there in real time as we're drawing across. So if I've got people working remote, they want to do video conferencing with whiteboarding, they could be on here, they could be on their laptop, maybe they have an iPad with a stylus, and they're participating in this design that we're doing here. I could take screenshots of something and draw over the top of it.
But does someone have to first open a Spark board, or could 4 remote people go ahead and open the whiteboard on their phone and use it on their phone without a main Spark board being open?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yep, I could have just went in, before I jumped to this, I could go in and do whiteboarding on my iPad if I wanted to. Okay. And that's actually what I did, because we just started getting these in last month, but I was showing the whiteboarding feature off a lot. I was just using an iPad and drawing with that.
That's interesting.
And oh yeah, security. So it's all secure. It's encrypted, pen stroke by pen stroke, encrypt data at rest, in transit. I mean, really soup to nuts. And security is, to be honest, you guys, one of Cisco's big pushes with Spark. We are doing things with like CloudLock. I don't know if you guys ever heard CloudLock before, a company that Cisco acquired, where if someone posts like a social security number inside of a room, you could say, I want to block social security number type information or credit card information. CloudLock will see that that was typed in a room and automatically delete the message for you guys. And just depending on what your data loss prevention is, what you need to make sure it doesn't get out, CloudLock can take care of a lot of that for you guys. All right, any other questions?
When did this technology come out?
So the board came out in January, and they were extremely, extremely hard to get. We were on a 3-month lead time on these things because they were just so hot when we released them. Now we're probably down to about a 2-month lead time to get one of these.
You have some material on it if I want to get some?
What's that?
Do you have some material on it if I want to get the copy?
Sure, yeah, we can send you some stuff. Anything else?
Yeah, I think these features are very good in education, whereby people still rely on PowerPoint presentation. If you can get everything in.
Yep.
I think that's excellent.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. Thanks, guys.
Questions?
Okay. Yeah. Let me. Do you have a card on you or anything that I could send you?
So later, what we're going to do also, we will have this available, and Sale will be here so that we can have you guys take a look at this live and play with it, if you'd like to do that. Next, what we'd like to do is we have a short video. It's a testimonial we have from Win It that we'd like to play for you. We can do the video.
Win It Distribution is primarily a pure play distribution company. This year we've grown to roughly a $1 billion company. In order for us to be successful in that world, we must have very trusted relationships with different partners. They are not vendors in our world. They are not just suppliers. They truly are strategic partners and trusted advisors. So in order for us to maintain a lean presence, relationships like those with FLTG are what allow us to be able to continue to grow the company. We do not have a wide number of those folks. We have a very small group of those trusted advisors, and clearly FLTG is in that camp for us.
Finger Lakes has worked with us by understanding our business, and by understanding our business, they understand what's important to Win It. And being a distribution company, getting product out the door to our customers and understanding our sales organization and our distribution part of the business, they've helped us build the infrastructure that we have today, both on the Cisco side and on the Nimble side, to be able to have the quick response times on the flash storage, as well as reduce latency and jitter for video calls across locations, and helping reduce travel time of some of our executives and getting on planes and be able to make important decisions on a day-to-day basis. Managed Services by FLTG allows the core Win It IT team to offload some work to FLTG as far as day-to-day operations. So they become essentially an extension of our team, allowing the core team to go off and handle other Win It related tasks to help move the business forward.
I have zero hesitation recommending FLTG to another company, and I don't give recommendations out lightly. Those are something that have to be earned in my world.
Recommending FLTG to another organization without question is definitely something anyone on my team or within this organization would say absolutely. If you have something that needs to be done, whether it's network related, whether it's unified communications, whether it's Nimble, FLTG is the way to go.
His makeup. Come right in. Don't be scared.
All right, thank you.
Mike.
Hey, how are you?
This is Mike McPhee.
Hey, folks. Good to see you all today. I'm going to put this down there. You'll have to bear with me. I've got a little bit of a cough going. I got some of that asthma I caught from my kids. So, but if you came here for a ShamWow commercial, I'm not here to do it. We're here to talk cybersecurity and all that good fun stuff. But feel free to see me after this presentation. I know we're a little tight on time, but I know there's a lot of questions out there, especially with the daily tempo of events that we're starting to see in this realm. So I'm just going to kind of go through a little bit about how we can use security to not just be, one of those necessary evils, one of those checkbox type of things, but actually an enabler to your business. And this is a really important way to look at security. I know a lot of you are fighting that uphill battle against the higher ups. You're looking to get funding. You're looking to get approval for these initiatives. And what we can do for you is we can actually show you how security can not only help protect you, but can actually help you deliver that business velocity you're looking for with all your new initiatives, your use cases that you need to deliver, and the services you need to provide to your end users. Excuse me, sorry about that. So, really security needs to go from being that impediment to being an enabler. And how do we do that? Well, we need to take a look at where security's been, all right? And Cisco is certainly just one of hundreds of companies that are trying to help you through this cybersecurity journey. And when you look at it, we understand that you guys have a lot going on. You're here you are, you're trying to scale. Some of you might have a lot of IoT deployments. This year is the first year on record where IoT devices added to the network outpaced user devices. So mobile phones, iPads are now being eclipsed by all of those IoT devices. Smart sensors, your smart fridge that tells you when the milk's out, all that stuff, those are now outpacing your typical end user devices. So this is really important to understand. That is a massive number of devices that can be deployed and that people aren't typically monitoring that could be doing damage to your networks. And so we need to be aware of that certainly as business models change, people use more IoT. That's yet another vector people are able to take advantage of. And along with that is an increased attack surface. So you have users, you have employees, they all want to be using your capabilities no matter where they're at. And what that does is it means that you now have to enable all of that and at the same time wrestle with what security means in that. It was a lot easier when we had a single perimeter. It was a lot easier when you had desktops bolted to the desk. Those days are long gone. And so what you need to do is you need to be able to find ways to help accommodate the mobility that people are looking for, that flexibility, while still keeping them safe against an ever-expanding group of actors. And when we talk about threat actors, it used to be that we had a separation between the geopolitical stuff, high stakes, government to government, usually didn't bother most of the people in this room. But what we're seeing with the last couple of months here, with WannaCry and now with the Nyetnya stuff that hit 2 days ago, is we're seeing that we're starting to see geopolitical hacking, stuff that's being used by nation states spilling over, and we are collateral damage. So there are an awful lot of victims that were involved in that attack that really was focused on the Ukraine that are now struggling with the fact that fake ransomware hit their devices and that there's no actual way to get those files back. So it's what they call a wiper. It's really nasty. But what that means is that nobody's really safe from, there's nobody that's not in your threat picture these days. And then certainly the attack sophistication. We're seeing, even before all the NSA, and CIA leaks, we've seen a huge proliferation of new advanced techniques that allow these people to move through your networks and do some serious harm. Thank you. And when we look at that, what does that mean? What are they doing? Well, they're taking advantage of things that they never used to use before. They're using, very commonly used administrative tools within your environment. If you've got any systems administrators, who uses WMI or PowerShell? Anybody? You guys are familiar with it, right? Good luck turning that off. Well, guess what? That's what that Nyetnya was actually using for lateral movement within the environment. And so this is the really scary part here. This is why cybersecurity is so important, and that's why you really need to be looking beyond just which vendors you pick. Obviously, we'd love you to buy Cisco. We'd love you to work with FLTG and Cisco to do this. But you have to look at your core, your fundamentals. Are you guys patched? How's your patch hygiene? How well do how well can you assure everybody in your environment that your patches are up to date, that you're continuously applying them properly, that you're hardening your devices? How many of you have network services that are up that maybe don't need to be? SMB v1 is the avenue by which both of these big attacks have been hit. Who's still using that and why? Well, guess what? Turns out 70% of enterprises still use SMB v1. What the heck are we doing, right? We've got to do things to help close up those holes and make it harder for the guys. At least make them work, right? And if we're making them work, then we stand a chance. Telnet, if you guys are still using Telnet, or you're still doing, unencrypted HTTP for anything, critical, let's talk. We've got to find ways to help you get past that and cure people of those ills. Certificates aren't that bad. We can figure them out. We can help you through it. And then there's backups. We have partners that help us sell backup stuff. FLTG has partners and solutions they can offer. I don't get paid on backups, but I'll tell you the number one most important thing against real ransomware, and I mean Locky, SamSam, Tesla Crypt, Wall, CryptoLocker, all of those, is how effective your backups are, because when that ransomware hits, there's no amount of cybersecurity budget that's going to make it go away. You need to be able to wipe the devices and cure them from a backup. Go ahead.
How can we put into most of the business head what they're doing, especially with Windows XP? Most of the businesses are still using that system, and with the security coming in, how do we make sure that they start making transformation to a new service?
I mean, honestly, it's a shock and awe campaign. I think if you're trying to win funding to get people modernized, there's a few facets. One of the things you have to worry about is certainly budget and a reluctance by the users, but we can't blame sometimes these hospitals for getting hacked when they're software vendors that come in with a $16 million a month maintenance package, force them to operate on out-of-date operating systems so that they don't break compatibility with this beast that they call their processing package or their back-end database or whatever. So really, we need to pressure our software vendors. We need to inform our users. All these recent breaches are using tools that aren't just a Windows XP. I mean, it used to be a convenient excuse. Well, get rid of Windows XP, but Windows 8, Windows 7, and even some Windows 10 boxes are vulnerable to some of the CIA and NSA exploits that have been leaked and are now being used. So this is a really important thing to understand, and it's a great question, and I would say it really is going to depend on what kind of things you're struggling with in your environment, and we're more than happy to come in and help you figure that out and help support you in that. But at the end of the day, sometimes that's work we can only help you so far with. That's something that has to be internal. There has to be conviction. There has to be corporate executive sponsorship and understanding that, listen, security is not a destination, it's a journey. You're constantly going to be working against all these different pressures. They're not going to get away, or go away. You're not going to be able to make it all go away and mystically hit, I'm secure. It's not like I've reached the end of the internet, right? So we need to get to the point where we convince people that security is a journey. It's something that you're going to continuously be going after. And in addition to that, right, we're not making things easier on you. In addition, you've got all this stuff you've got to do for housekeeping to kind of keep things going within your environment. But at the same time, Cisco has a competitive security operations group. We call them CSOG. They track over 800 different companies actively that we compete against across the 17 different places we play in the network, just from a security perspective. So this is Cisco doing it, right? A $50 billion a year company. We're tracking 800 vendors. How in the heck are you guys supposed to make smart decisions and build a solution set that helps you out when you've got all that noise, you've got all these solutions, you got everybody out there offering the next silver bullet? Well, the answer is you can't. And so really you need to look beyond that, and we understand that. You need to look towards solutions that make your life simpler, that work better together and provide you guys with some synergies that can actually help you deliver secure infrastructure at the same pace as the rest of the business wants to go. Because we all know what happens, right? Somebody comes in, says, we got this new project, we need you to support it. Security, how long is it going to take? Well, 6 months. We got some rules to work, we got to figure out, we got to do an audit, we got to figure out where all these ACLs are, all that stuff. 6 months is too long. Security goes by the wayside because we've got to stay productive. You guys need to be in business. We get it. And so we need to deliver you guys less complex solutions that are open, that integrate better, and alleviate a lot of that workload from you. Oop. Let's see here. Does not seem to be syncing up here. Yoo-hoo. All right, so this isn't coming up. Sorry about this, folks. Folks online can see it fine. All right. Let's see here. Well, that got a little butchered here, but I'll kind of talk through it. Interpretive dance time. So everybody hold on to your hats. All that dance training is going to help out here. What we often see with a lot of legacy solution sets is, typical enterprise will have anywhere from 15 to 50 vendors in place just for security. And as you add those lumps of security in, as you try to bolt those things on, we see diminishing capabilities. diminishing returns as you add all those things, but the complexity skyrockets and you get this massive gap. And that gap is the pain. That's that crazy 6-month lag. That's the uncertainty. That's the, pressing the I believe button as you deploy these new capabilities, and we want to get you out of that. And so what Cisco's plan here is to actually offer you capabilities that are complementary, where the complexity does not go up. Whereas you add capabilities, the complexity goes up very minimally. Your workload actually reduces on a per solution perspective because it's able to work together. What's this mean for you? It means that we're able to automate things. We're able to automate the tuning, automate the identification of threats, automate the disposition and remediation of threats in a lot of cases, and bubble up to you only those things that require your action, rather than forcing you to go out there, like a lot of our competition does, and look at the hayfield and they point to it and say, the needle's out there somewhere, good luck. We burn the haystacks down for you, okay? We deliver you correlated needles. We tell you why they're painful, why they hurt, why they mean something to your environment. Context and visibility are the key to that, and you don't get that if all you're selling is one box. You don't get that if all you're looking at is one point in the network. So we try to get away from that myopic focus on just one spot, where an IPS only worries about being an IPS, an endpoint solution's only an endpoint solution, and never do they mix. And we actually share, we have openness that not only helps us increase the visibility and context that we share between our devices and that automation and those synergies, but actually helps us bring under the tent over 160 ecosystem partners. And what this does is it gives you a little bit of freedom to go out and deploy the MDM that makes sense to you, or the security incident and event manager that makes sense to you. We don't make all those things, we get it, but you shouldn't be punished just because you have to go to a couple of different vendors for your solutions. You should instead be able to integrate them through open APIs, through great intelligence sharing, and that should in turn reduce your workload. So security's got to evolve to do that, right? And when we talk about security, we need it to be more helpful. It's got to assist you guys in meeting your needs. And we have to be able to help you through these transitions with the products that we have in our portfolio. Cisco is better suited than anybody to do this because, we are kind of we're a big name in IT. We have a presence in a lot of these areas that a lot of our competition doesn't. And that's not just, that's not chest thumping here, but what it does is it gives us context, and it gives us a 360-degree deconflicted view that nobody else has. If all you do is spend time at the perimeter, you're missing out on what endpoints in the cloud see. All right? And if all you're doing is providing endpoint solutions, like a more traditional AV vendor, you don't have the perspective of an IPS or a firewall, and you aren't able to bring in that context and deconflict that and improve the capabilities while reducing the complexity of the solution set. So this is really where Cisco's integrated approach pays off. And when we look at that, we dive in, there's a lot of jokes, Cisco has more SKUs than Walmart. We're working on that. We're trying to reduce that, okay? But when we look at this, we really have offerings for almost any use case you can think of. And when this is where the value of FLTG and Cisco as a team coming in can help you. Because what we're able to do is we're able to help you figure out, what is it you're scared of? What are you trying to protect and from whom? And once we know that, and once we know what the context of your environment is, we can help you figure out which solutions are the best bang for the buck, and which solutions won't only help you preserve your wallet, but preserve your sanity. We can do things to help you simplify this so that you're getting the right solution that's baked for you. And that's all integrated. One of the key pieces here is what we call Talos. That's our collective security intelligence. If you haven't heard about them, shame on me. I'd love to talk to you about them. These guys are the real deal. We spend $1 billion in deep threat research and development a year. We give these guys a check. These guys spend $4 million a year just in a quarter just in storage. Just in new storage here. They manage over 24 petabytes of information to process this and turn it into real information. All of these things provide telemetry. All of these things provide perspective. We process that in the cloud and we turn it into actionable signatures. This is why with WannaCry, Cisco customers weren't impacted. We protected across 7 of these products. When you looked at the NetNet stuff, we were detecting and blocking that on Firepower and AMP, and detecting it with ThreatGrid, which is integrated across not only our products, but a bunch of other people's products as well. So we've got a fantastic array of solutions here that work together to eliminate a lot of that panic for you. And our goal is to deliver you a stable network that, yeah, may need some improvement, may need some sysadmin type tasks to truly close the vulnerabilities, but at least we've provided you with something where you don't have a crazy, 6,000 person outage. And that's our real goal here. If I talk about Talos in a little bit of depth, I know I stand between you guys and beer, so that is a motivator for me too, so just bear with me. It's staggering the amount of information we see here. 600 billion emails, half are in my inbox, but the rest are all spread across the rest of the world, right? We block 20 billion threats a day. 20 billion. Sounds like a big number, but let me put context around that. Google only processes 4.5 billion search queries a day. They're considered a pretty big deal. So we're blocking almost 5 times as many threats as Google sees search queries in a day. So this is serious business, and you want somebody like Cisco in the foxhole with you defending your network. Because, well, a lot of companies have a good presence in one vertical or another, or one geography or another. We are global, and we're across all verticals, governments, you name it. And so what that gives us is a unique perspective that we're able to turn into actionable intel, automatically directed towards your products to help you remediate and protect. And because we're doing that across our entire portfolio of security products, what's that mean to you? It means if you deploy one, you're still benefiting from all the visibility, context, and intelligence that's leveraged from all of our other products. Is it always going to protect you? Is any one product good enough? Probably not. But you still get better protection, and that's why we're not only a best-in-class portfolio, but each of our capabilities is better than anybody else's when it comes to detection, time to prevent, time to remediate. So this is a big deal for us here, and we're very proud of how Talos works. It's kind of an eye chart, but I wanted to impress upon you this, this isn't just, me up here waving hands, lightning bolts, and all that stuff in PowerPoint. We actually have all of these products delivering and consuming that intel to provide the capabilities to you as a customer. So even if you're an endpoint customer using ClamAV or AMP, ClamAV, by the way, open source. We're very big on open source now. Cisco, wow, open source. Yep, we do a lot of open source stuff. If you're just an AMP or a ClamAV customer, you're benefiting from what we see through the vectors like our web security capabilities. OpenDNS, not listed here, but CWS, WSA, all of these things give us cool capabilities. Advanced malware protection is certainly file-based, but it's really helpful to know what those files are doing in the grand scheme of things. Who are they calling out to? Which domains are there? Who's delivering that file? How did it transit the network? What other characteristics come with it? What's it look like on the network laterally? That's all the kinds of things that each of these products are able to benefit from each other through that context sharing and openness. And like I said, it's not just our stuff, it's that huge ecosystem that we're now sharing it with. Just another way of looking at 20 billion threats, almost 5 times what Google processes, that's 3 threats per day. And a lot of those people aren't even connected. So when you think about that, every one of these threats has the potential to be the next WannaCry, the next Netnya, right? The next Locky. Our competition's not catching all of those. So we do our very best to make sure that we don't, we're not resting on our laurels. We're not, sitting here just saying, oh, we're good, we're number one. We're continually pushing the envelope here, and we're trying to shorten that industry average of 100 days mean time to detect beyond where we've already got it at 8.5 hours for Cisco. That gives you a jump on the bad guys. That helps you prevent the data spillage. You don't want that exfiltration to get out, right? And you want to preserve your reputation, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be in business if you've lost data and you showed that you were not, doing your part to protect it. And so what we want to do is we want to help you and your customers get out ahead of this. And when you do get hit, help you close that loop quickly. So one of the things we can do here is a lot of people, that understandably are very overwhelmed. What's my plan? How do I get through this? And your plan is going to vary depending on who you are, what your maturity is on this spectrum here. What are your use cases? Whoop, sorry about that. Your use cases may vary, but generally speaking, we see people start at the edge. We see people start with a next-gen firewall, next-gen IPS solution. That's where firepower fits in. You protect those front gates. You got to put big locks on the door. All right. Once you've done that, now you've got to worry about people and mobility. Right. You're worried about them going to. Everything good? Okay. You've got to worry about everybody now transiting through hotels, conferences. You've got to worry about the coffee shop scenario. What happens when one of your workers signs in, starts doing some software as a service without protection? Good luck, right? Man in the middle is a really key tool used by hackers at a lot of those public watering hole type attacks. Sorry. Now you also want to worry about policing the internals of your network. So 80% of your threats, with a lot of us having mobility, right? BYOD, walk around those firewalls every day. So how do you keep people off the network that are dirty? How do you keep them off when they're sick, when they've got a cough? Well, you need to have something like network access control, and Identity Services Engine is a fantastic tool to help you do that. Along with that, as you're improving that, and as you're vetting people are who they say they are, and giving them the credentials they need, it helps to be able to segment better. Once you have that control, now you're able to go through and actually tighten things. And when we look at US CERT, they've had studies in the last 3 years. Every year, the top priority for enterprises they've released has been you need to segment your networks. If you think about it, one compromised host is a bad day. But if that one compromised host has unfettered access to every other host in your environment, you're hosed. So that segmentation, whether it's servers from clients, different servers from other servers, is really important in helping contain the spread of any of these attacks. And then lastly, once you've cleaned all that up, you want to get to the point where you can start being more proactive. You want to, instead of doing that AV whack-a-mole, where you're going around chasing every host and trying to figure out which one's compromised, you want to know exactly where they're at as it's happening and surgically handle those without impacting the rest of your environment. That helps you maintain your productivity, and that helps you get through these cycles a whole lot quicker. 1 second, please. Clicker seems to be dying on me. So this just kind of summarizes what I talked about with each of the products here, or which products might be your lead fit. And like I said, no one size fits all. Some of you might not have a huge mobile presence. Maybe you're a bit more of a manufacturing house. You don't do a lot of VPN. That's okay. Maybe you're a place that is almost purely cloud-based. That's okay too. We can help you figure out where you need to be on the maturity scheme here and what we're able to deliver to help you stay most secure with an integrated approach that helps share intelligence not just with other Cisco solutions, but the rest of your installed portfolio. So I'm just going to go a little bit. When we look at ransomware, I want you to just keep a couple of numbers in mind. So we talked about Talos and the breadth and all that stuff. I think these numbers are really fascinating and scary. Last year, 2016, was a banner year for ransomware, $1 billion. Oh, wow. The overall cybercrime and cyber criminal economic impact was $2.5 trillion. So it kind of puts ransomware in perspective. Ransomware right now is the bright, shiny object, or the ugly, cranky child, whatever you want to call it. Everybody's paying attention to it. And just because it's not a significant portion yet of what overall cybercriminal or cybersecurity impact would be, doesn't mean we shouldn't pay attention to it. Because it's a very useful tool at helping get that sponsorship we talked about. So when you're looking to get executives on board, it's visceral. Everybody's impacted by it. You guys saw that video? Everybody understands that. Everybody's seeing ransomware. It's certainly a big item, big topic of discussion around the dinner table. And the fact that my grandma knows about it tells you that it's something that everybody should be able to relate to. So when we look at things and why that explosion of ransomware has happened, really it comes around a couple of things. And one of them's listed here. It's really Bitcoin. Everybody understand Bitcoin? So Bitcoin, right? Anonymous payment capability. Allows these guys to hide behind an electronic wallet string that nobody can trace, supposedly. We'll see. But the other thing that came into play was Tor. So the onion routing protocol allows people to deliver attacks with reckless abandon and hide behind a bunch of strong proxies so that nobody's able to see where they're at. Now there's rumors and there's certainly some evidence that says that the original version of Tor has been compromised by nation states so that they do know where it's coming from, but it still gets heavy use. And for you don't have that power to be able to go in there and forensically look at that. So we need to be vigilant against things like Bitcoin and Tor. We need to understand what their uses are and why it is that we've seen this explosion of ransomware since then. The other thing that's come into play and is a little harder to peg is that there's a lot of command and control networks and there's a lot of hacking for hire type stuff. So, we get a lot of attention to, Giant Panda or Deep Panda, Fuzzy Bear, Cozy Bear. That's what happens when you let CrowdStrike name people. But you get a lot of this attention around these big hacking organizations, but a significant number of these hacks start because somebody's got a grudge, an axe to grind, or a will to make some money, and they hire somebody else to compromise these hosts. And so you can go out on the dark web, and where there's a will, there's a way. If you've got enough money, somebody will turn over 150,000 compromised healthcare hosts for you to do with as you please. They've already compromised with them. You decide whether you're going to turn them into a botnet or whether you're going to hold them for ransom. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on that we need to be aware of. And certainly, over here, hidden behind my face, and for the people in the room, is where we get to pet you and WannaCry. And as I said before, we thought that both of those were ransomware variants that were poorly executed on the payment scheme. But we now believe that those were really just, nation-state attacks hidden as ransomware to kind of throw people off the scent. So, significant danger there, especially given that they're using propagation techniques, like I said before, that sysadmins use every day and that are very unlikely to go away. So we need to be able to detect those as quickly as possible. When we look at typical ransomware infections and malware infections in general, they share a lot of the same characteristics, though. So that's the good news. So if we've got a methodical approach to defending our networks against the infection vector in the first place, this is where your front gates come into play, right? This is where advanced malware protection for endpoints can come into play for those roaming users. Then we're able to prevent these initial spreads, right? Content security is incredibly important. If you don't have a web and a email security strategy, then you're missing out, because those can really help close those vectors. Firewalls can only do so much for you. There's a lot of ways into your network. You need to think like a hacker does. You need to think about how it is that they can get in and what they're able to launch. Once they get in, they typically try to establish comms. Somebody's the boss. And so if they can't do that, then they kind of fizzle out. They die. And we see that with a lot of these different malware strains. They don't want to go through all that time and effort if they're not getting something out of it, unless it's kind of a wiper-based capability like we see with the nation states here, where they're looking to cause focused damage. It splatters. Oh well, at least we took out the people we wanted. Ransomware in general, though, is pretty useless unless it's able to establish that comms. It'll go and encrypt the files. I think that's the part everybody understands. And if they're smart, they'll use asymmetric keys and they'll hide the private key up in the cloud. And so what that means is there's really no way to get that stuff back locally without paying. That's if they give you the key. And that's where the request for ransom comes in. That's where you get the splash screen, the big ugly message, the friendly help to introduce you to Bitcoin so that you can, within the 3 days they give you, pay that ransom. Now, I'll tell you this. Nobody has to raise a hand and volunteer this, but a lot of people will pay the ransom. Most of those people won't ever actually see those files again. Very rarely do those ransomware campaigns bring your files back, and if they do, it doesn't get rid of the malware. It just gives you back your files for now. They reserve the right, and they still have a presence on your host to go back and infect you again and again and again. And if you pay, they're going to be back. It's kind of like a phishing campaign or a call campaign, right? Unsolicited phone calls. Once they know you're there and you'll answer, they'll keep coming back. So don't pay. Hopefully you've got your backups. Hopefully you're leveraging a good backup strategy, and you can kind of give them a 4-letter word in return. So the goal here is when you do get impacted by ransomware, assume you're going to do a wipe and a complete, install from backup. So that sometimes is a little abrupt. Everybody's looking for that, well, can't I have my cake and eat it too? Can't I keep my host and avoid the, a couple hours of downtime per host? Unfortunately, no. Once it's gotten to that point, you're pretty much hosed. And so what you need to do is you need to work on all these things that lead up to it and prevent that actual infestation from reaching its end goal. The other thing I would say is that, with ransomware, it oftentimes is not the only attack going on. It's very loud and noisy, and it's a very useful tool for them to do other things to you. So whether encrypting your email, or encrypting all your Word docs, or encrypting all your intellectual property, guess what? They're also implanting things to exfiltrate your data. They're implanting things to steal credentials, to scan your keyboard. So you're concentrating on the big noisy beast that is ransomware, and in the meantime, some much more insidious stuff's happening on the device. So they're looking for persistent presence. And what that allows them to do is once you think the heat is off, you continue, normal operations, sometimes with haste, because boy, you got a lot of catching up to do. You were just out of commission for a week or two with a ransomware outbreak. They know they're going to get a whole lot of information if they just sit there and hang out and wait. And so you need to look at ransomware as a really just the front wave of a much larger attack in a lot of these cases. Most of the time, malware in general, ransomware especially, comes in via one of two means: email or web. Does anybody know what makes WannaCry so different, besides the fact it's not actually a really well executed ransomware? Anybody want to venture a guess?
It's fileless, isn't it?
What's that?
It's fileless.
Well, it starts out actually as a file for the first implant, but it's a worm. So it's a completely different infection vector, and that should have been a tip, I think, to everybody in the security community. It didn't come in via web or email. It didn't spread that way. It spread as a worm. And it spread as a worm, like I said, over a critical service that people don't typically defend, like SMB v1. And so it's a very important thing to understand that most of your ransomware is going to follow this, but there are other ways in, and that's why a comprehensive security solution is so important. But that aside, when we get here, there's a lot of commonality between those two major vectors for ransomware, and certainly with the rest of malware in general, or the rest of attacks in general. So when we look at how it is that we actually counter this, it's helpful to look at things like what Talos is doing. So, you guys remember SamSam? You ever hear of that? Attacked a lot of point of sale stuff. It was really, crazy. Was not a lot of fun for a lot of our hospital customers, especially. It went after a lot of lightweight devices that they knew would not be patched. And much like a lot of other malware, it took advantage of DNS. It was the only one, SamSam so far is the only real ransomware that didn't need DNS just for the encryption key, but it still needs it for payment. Once again, they're not going to go through the trouble if they're not going to get paid. And so what's this tell us? All of these guys, they all have different mechanisms of delivery, different ways of getting in, but at the end of the day, if we can interrupt DNS calls outbound, we do a pretty good job cleaning up. The good news is, that's pretty easy to do. We've got a lot of solutions that can bring that to you. If you're roaming, we've got Umbrella. If you're on-prem, we've got the WSA, or we've got Firepower. All of these things are able to help. And if you're talking email, we have cloud email security, Office 365 users, we got you covered. Cloud email security works incredibly well with that stuff and helps you out. If you've got on-prem stuff, no worries. The email security appliance, best-in-class email capabilities as well. When we look at WannaCry, this is the kind of detail that is required to really understand these threats. And it's exploiting things that I think everybody knew was bad. MS 17010, we had signatures in place as soon as it was announced, by the way. 3 months before WannaCry hit. Guess what happened? Nobody patched. Nobody paid attention. So you need security solutions that can cover you, and you need to pay attention to those vendor releases of their CVEs or their vulnerabilities. Leveraged a couple of fancy names, Eternal Blue and Double Pulsar. People also think Eternal Romance, all these really cool names, right? I want to be a malware researcher. But it leveraged 445, which is a SMB port, and it's scanned like a worm. So this is what made it really different. And so understanding that's really the key to helping prevent it at the network scale. On the endpoint, You need to know what its mechanisms are for how it actually does what it's doing. And Talos goes into this kind of detail. There are a lot of good, talented organizations out there. But what they're doing is a lot of them will break it down, but leave it up to you to figure out a lot of this. What Cisco's actually doing is we're converting that into intelligence and guidance. We'll give you guidance on the system side, but at the same time, we'll protect it across all the eligible products. So you can go in, you can read Talos Intel. I think it's talosintelligence.com, or go to the Cisco blog and you can link it from there. And with every single brief, with every single thing we deliver, we'll explain it to you, but we'll also show you exactly how you can be protected against it. And so this can help give you guys some understanding. If you got a particular threat you're worried about, you see a peer organization that's been compromised, guess what? We can help you with that. We can show you how you might be able to protect against a similar sort of attack. Maybe somebody in the same vertical, if you're a bank, somebody goes after your ATMs or your branches, no problem. We can explain it to you and then show you how our products would automatically protect you. When we look at Cisco ransomware defense, more generally speaking, we're really talking about getting in front of each of those steps of the chain. So we've got a lot of options. It all depends on what size fits you best. We don't expect you guys to know it. We don't expect you guys to have to pick. That's where you bring in your team here. That's where you bring in the Cisco account team and FLTG to help you pick it out. And it's all going to be based on your needs. And when we deliver to you, I promise you, it'll be a lot less painful than buying 15 to 50 different vendors to help you out. Really, the cycle here, we get a lot of different hits. We get a lot of different swipes at trying to knock out that malware before it does the damage. If you're relying on a point product, if all you build's hammers, everything's a nail. And if you miss that nail the first time, they don't get a second chance. We give you multiple chances at all different stages, and all of them are more effective than everybody else's hammer. On the grand scheme of things, we talk about all the different capabilities we deliver. Certainly, that ransomware chain we want to interrupt, but we can give you other things that can help contain stuff like TrustSec, which is really a build out of ICE and StealthWatch to help you detect what's going on behaviorally within your environment. Does anybody give any real credence to insider threats? Anybody have any ways of dealing with that in their environments? It's a big deal. Escalated credentials. Insider threat can be a lot of things. Yeah, it can be somebody grouchy because you didn't give them a raise. It can be somebody who's on their way out. It can be somebody who, stole credentials or somebody swiped badge or whatever. But you can have all the technical capabilities in the world, and if all they're looking for is packet-based or file-based threats, they're going to miss it. You need to find things that can do behavioral analytics, and that's where StealthWatch comes into play. So that's a key capability that we can also deliver here. So, when we look at the activity like, with WannaCry, and we look at the activity around what we're seeing with NetNet so far, that activity, that PowerShell, that PowerShell and WMI traversal across the network can be picked up by things like StealthWatch. Why is it that every operator on the floor is all of a sudden a PowerShell expert? That's the kind of thing that StealthWatch is able to pick out of the noise there for you. So this all really goes into a cohesive, solution-based architecture. You don't have to buy it all. But if you buy the pieces that make sense to you, 1, 2, 3, more, who cares, right? It's going to depend on your situation, your use cases, what it is you're scared of, and what it is you need to protect. Time-wise, what's the easy stuff? What's the low-hanging fruit? You can protect every host in your environment with OpenDNS and AMP. Those are easy. We've had 6,000 seat deployments of AMP in one day. A little bit of forethought, planning, and you can deliver that. Depends on what you're using for desktops and stuff like that, how complex your environment is, all that, but we can help out. A little further out, certainly looking at that front door. Let's look at, I know I talked to some people, during the break about where they're at with their old ASAs or with the competitors' gear. Firepower is something that's pretty straightforward. It's a fantastic product, best in class, next-gen IPS, next-gen firewall, and it can really help you close up that initial vector. Let's look at that. Let's help you get it into place so that we can prevent these attacks from coming in that front door. And let's also take a look at what your own incident response plan is. If you don't have an IR plan, a disaster recovery plan, and a business continuity plan, you're going to need those first. I'm not saying we won't sell you stuff, but if you haven't done those things, nothing else you do is going to make any sense. So work within. If you need help, reach out. We have capabilities that can do that, and we can augment that by helping you put things like Cisco Incident Response on retainer. And so you can use that. It's like a $70,000 service. We've had local companies that got hacked, got compromised. Anybody heard of Quackbot? Okay, compromise. It's old, still comes around because people don't patch, right? We had a company that was hit by Quackbot locally, hit a bunch of their hosts, a global corporation, and we had IR guys in the air within 32 hours on the ground, and by I think they called us on a Wednesday, and by Monday morning they were back in business. Quackbot's pretty nasty stuff. Just ask the ECMC folks. So that was a Quackbot outbreak, we think. And then further out, let's take a look at your infrastructure. Everything Cisco builds, whether it says it's a security product or not, has it baked in. If you're bolting on security, you're already losing. So the cool part here is if you're calling us, you're working with us, you're helping us understand where you're at and where you're going. We can help you head things off at the pass and help you make smarter decisions around what it is you're purchasing in your environment. You can buy a whole host of switches from Cisco, but if you're buying them at a certain level and above, guess what? You get a lot of security capabilities built into the product. Same thing with firewalls, same thing with routers, same thing with our collaboration capabilities. All of them have the ability to provide sensing, telemetry, and enforcement of their own flavor as appropriate for that part of the infrastructure. All of those things can be worked into this. And if we've got a good vision and we're working on it together, we can help you guys execute on that cheaper, faster, and with a whole lot less pain. At the end of the day, a lot of our competition and increasingly Cisco, we like to talk about the cyber kill chain. This is the whole think like a hacker piece. And there's really 7 stages to any attack. Cisco is the only company that can really give you coverage across all 7 of those stages. And we interrupt that, whether you're talking about a cloud-based solution, you're talking about a simpler, on-prem solution, or you're talking about the soup to nuts, full infrastructure-based solution. We have options at each of those steps that together provide unrivaled ransomware defense capabilities. So this is a really key thing here that Cisco provides that nobody else is able to. It's one of the benefits of being a big company. It's one of the benefits of having a big budget and selling a lot of products, acquiring a lot of solutions, is that we've finally gotten to the point where we've realized that we're part of the problem. And so we've gone towards becoming much more open, helping make our gear much easier to use both together and with other stuff, and helping simplify your lives here in the operation. When you look at that, we back that up with Talos, an unmatched security intelligence operation. I showed you the numbers on it, a very amazing group, very proactive, not so soft-spoken guys. They have a great Talos podcast, by the way, Beers with Talos. Recommend you check it out. They talk cybersecurity, drink beers. It's a fun time. But really, nobody else but Cisco can provide this breadth and depth with this simplicity, openness, and automation that Cisco can provide here. And we don't just do it with ourselves, we do it with over 160 ecosystem partners. And that's really a key piece here. We don't want you guys to have to worry about stitching all this together. That's where the problems come in. That's where security falls apart. That's where it gets really onerous, and that's where it falls by the wayside. We don't want you to do that, and that's why we integrate so well with all these other solutions. It's a kind of an eye chart. I can certainly send out a link through the FLTG folks to show you guys our technical alliance, we call it. But it's a constantly growing group, and we have some frenemies in there. Guys like Checkpoint, they're in there. VMware, fond friendship there with VMware, but they still realize that they're not able to do all this on their own. And so they team up with us where it makes sense. And at the end of the day, what's that mean to you folks? You probably care less what brand is on your products, so long as it's simple, open, and automated. We want to do things to help alleviate that workload on you. We want to make things easier, and we want to protect you, and nobody does that better than Cisco. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. It's been great talking to you. And sorry about the little water that ended up here. So, thanks. Getting through it.
Any questions that you have for Mike? You're going to be here for a little bit after,
Yeah,
right?
I'll be here for a little while.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no
Appreciate it.
worries.
So what I'd like to do at this point is we're going to inject. I've got another one of our newer employees that we've just hired. So Tony Bouvier is going to come in and talk a little bit. Tony has been with Cisco for about 17 years. I've known Tony ever since actually he joined Cisco. He was my first SE that we had as a company, Finger Lakes Technologies Group. So Tony's going to come talk a little bit about what he's going to help us do at Finger Lakes, but I think it's a great add for us into the future of where we're going to try to grow and go with Finger Lakes. So I think they're just throwing the mic on him and this makeup and everything else we have to do since we're still live. And also, while he's having that done, don't forget after this, after he gets done, we're going to talk a little bit. We have our expo outside. We will have the bucket trucks out there. You can actually watch the climbing, fiber splicing, but we also are having a cocktail party at 3:30. So please stay for some cocktails before you leave, 3:30 to 5. And you know, Tompkins is going to kick this off. No, just kidding. They're our troopers. So with that, I'd like to introduce Tony Bouvier to you, and I'll be back in just a second. So Tony.
Thanks, Paul. So first, thanks for everybody for joining us today. So Tony Bouvier, this is my 13th day, I believe, with Finger Lakes. But I've known Paul in Finger Lakes for about 17 years. I was actually the engineer for Paul 17 years ago when he started the company here with Cisco, or when I was with Cisco. It'll take me a while to get that out of my vernacular. So I was with Cisco again about 18 years, and in that time I started as an engineer, and then I was a leader. From 2003 I became the manager of the Northeast, and then I managed different organizations. We had a vertical partner organization. By the way, the entire time I was with partners, helping partners build and grow their Cisco practices. So I was with vertical organization for a while. I led our national organization a couple of times, which was the last role that I was in. In addition, I led our federal engineering group. So it's about 50 people. I had 4 leaders that worked for me, and we had about $13 billion that we were responsible for from a Cisco standpoint. All architectures, I had specialists, which leads me to what is my role here at Finger Lakes. By the way, prior to Cisco, I was in the U.S. Air Force for 10 years, where I was in communications as well, satellite, tropo, fixed comm, and started working on AGSs and AGS pluses, if you remember those original routers from Cisco in the early 90s. So joining Finger Lakes and the conversations Paul and I have been having around the growth of the company and what are some of the needs that we see for Finger Lakes, but also for our customers, is someone that can come in and be the connection between the growth that we're going to aspire to achieve and Cisco as the only vendor that Finger Lakes sells, right? Because at the end of the day, what is a solution, right? A solution is something that you create that solves a problem, right? And problems are changing. And it's something that I talked about with all the partners that I've supported over the last 25 years, both when I was in the military and my time at Cisco, is the evolution of technology and the speed at which that technology is changing. And how do you keep up with that? When you have the day-to-day rigor that each of you are under for your organizations and your businesses and your constituents, how do you keep up with that change? And really that's going to be my role here at Finger Lakes, is to keep up with that change from a Cisco standpoint, from an industry perspective, and to help you solve problems, right? But to do that, I need to understand your businesses as well as I understand Cisco and as well as I understand Finger Lakes because of the long-standing relationship that I've had with Paul, with Finger Lakes, and also with Cisco. So that will be my role here at Finger Lakes. You'll see me. I'm going to be coming out with our sales folks, with our engineers. I want to get to know you. I want to get to understand your businesses. I want to be part of the solution and solving problems for you in partnership with Finger Lakes. So that's my role. And again, thank you all for coming. I look forward to meeting you and spending some time with all of you. And I live in Syracuse, so if anybody's over that way, let me know.
Thanks, Tony. Yep. So just to let the people know that are on live right now, which we'll be stopping in just a little bit, but the copy of today's seminar will be available on the Cisco Spark Space as well as on our FLTG website. And I'd also like to thank Flower City Media today for all the camera guys for being able to provide this live feed for us. And again, visit our website, fltg.com, for any future update events that we have that will be coming up. At this point, what I'd like to do is two things. One, actually, I'd like to get our team of people. We're going to actually introduce you to a lot of, go right over there. These are experts in everything that we're going to show you out there today. And my bodyguards are right here. So, the head of bodyguards. No, you're not my bodyguard. Just go ahead and make 12 lines or whatever. Ashley, where's Jolene? Get Ashley too. The first thing I'd like to do before we introduce all these guys is to thank, and we have one more crew member that's still working, but this is our marketing team that we have in all of our events. So we do a ton of events. Obviously, we have a large facility that we have to deal with on a regular basis. So Ashley and Jolene and Ann Mary are our team here that put this whole thing together as they do all of our events. So thank you.
Good job.
This is my daughter, the pregnant one. So. So with that, I'd like to introduce our team today. These are the guys that you'll see outside. Please stop by, talk to them about the different things we have going on out there. The FLTG Parker is Greg DeRuyter. So anything to do with the bunkers, any colo, anything like that, Greg DeRuyter can help you with that. Outside plant operations and mapping, Brian DeMillo, he's on actually a conference call right now, so he'll be out there in just a little bit. Our NOC, Managed and Monitoring Services, Brandon Wilden. So any questions that you have with that, please see Brandon out there. The Spark and HCS FX is Quentin, right over here, that Quentin's been with us all day. And then engineering and the HCS PBX is Justin Vane. It's right there. And then the pole climbing demo, we have a few of our guys out here, but we have the line crew here. Cam, Mike Mullen, and do we have a, oh, you are here. Oh, there he is. And Brian is here. I didn't see Brian, sorry. And also on the fiber splicing, Bill Jolly actually, that's over there, will actually be doing that. So if you've ever wanted to splice fiber, see what it's like to splice fiber, you can actually do it live. If you do not do it correctly, our network will go down. No, just kidding. And then the informational booths we have are just round tables that we have out in the different areas. So please take the time and talk to the people about the different things. Relax, hang out, and as I said, about 3:30 or so, we're going to start cocktails. We have beer and wine for you guys to hang out, but please answer any questions. We will have live demos, I think, with you, Quentin, right? That's trying to run out of the room. With a Spark board and any other technology, the MX800s, you know, so anything that you'd like to see, we have running live in this facility if you'd like to see that. I think, is that?
Real quick as a note, Justin will actually be in our technical solutions center, so he will not be outside. He'll be over by the bathrooms on that end of the building.
But we have one of
If you
our
need help getting there.
yeah, one of our sales guys is actually in the booth for him, so he can take you over to him. So, anything else? And if Mike, I think you're giving free climbing lessons, right? If they want to climb that pole, and you know, no, you don't even have to sign the waiver. You can just
There's woods out there.
yeah, we can bury you out there. So, but again, thank you guys. Again, this is not to us, not the end of this. We would like you to spend some time with us out there and more casually ask questions. But again, thank you for attending today. We really, truly appreciate it. Thank you to all of our speakers today and to Rob for your speaking today too. But appreciate you guys coming out here. Appreciate you guys being customers too. So thank you very much, and we will see you outside.